What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Matthew Spear, Olivia Spear here tonight. Sending out invitations on Facebook. We are trying something new with our mics. We realized that with this mic, we're kind of far away, and we're going to be a lot closer to them, so our voice should sound a little more natural, and we won't be as echoey. But the great thing about this mic is that it should be smooth, shouldn't be too bright, and I think this is going to solve the problem. So Olivia and I are going to try. If we're too quiet, let us know. We can turn it up, and we'll kind of go from there. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Livy, welcome. How are we feeling?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, you have not been feeling well the last couple days, so it's good.
No, it's finally hitting me, but I'm okay.
Happy Red Friday.
Yes, happy Red Friday.
So we are going to be covering some stuff. We got some great stuff from Eli Crane tonight. Definitely want to talk about that. Got some information in regards to Pete Hegseth. It looks like 9 o'clock. We're going to see a vote, and we're going to try to bring it to you live. Olivia is going to go over there and take a peek and see what we can find and figure out on when that vote will be. I'm pretty sure it's 9, but we'll do some research. We had a really good show last night with Leroy and I. We did JFK, and if you, a lot of people have been asking for that for the last 4 years. Well, I went into it pretty heavy. You should go listen to it. It was good. It was, I think, one of our better shows. It was entertaining. Donations will be up here shortly. You can go to thedumshow.com/donate. That should be working fluidly. I'll tell you a little bit about our donation process and why we do it. And then we'll get into the show. It will be a longer show. We'll see you in 3 minutes.
It's Red Friday, RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to DUMshow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me show, otherwise known as The Dumb Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The Dumb Show on social media or TheDumbShow.com.
Adjusting transmitter output. This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Liv, I just returned these headphones. Remind me to they're setting another pair. The left ear keeps going out, and I've got to tap this wire.
Got it.
And you need to get these because they're great. They just, for some reason, luckily they broke in the first 30 days. They're Sennheiser. I've never had a problem with Sennheiser. And you know us white people, we're all Nazis, so we appreciate the German product. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We've got a good show for you tonight. It's Friday. It's always a busy night for us, especially Fridays. Fridays are always amazing. The goal is officially up. Likes are also officially up. You can kind of watch how many people are on YouTube and Facebook in the lower left-hand corner where our social numbers are. Some people care about that. I don't really care. It's good to have everybody on. We have Wimkin, our good friends over on wimkin.com who watch the show. I'm hoping some people are over there and continue the chatting. Rumble's been huge for us the last few nights. I think for the first time we're consistently right around 100. We're ready to hit 100 a night, which would take over our number one channel, which is good. It's finally getting some love on Rumble. YouTube's been going well too, so that's also good to see.
A lot of new people on YouTube this week. I think we've had 4 people that have said this is their first time. There could be more. Maybe they're just not chatting. But
Maybe
yeah, a lot of new people.
Should come up with a name.
For what?
For our newest people who've never been here before. Durmgens or something. Like not weirdgens.
Durmgens?
Dumgens. Like virgins, but dumgens or something, some shit. I mean, we've got muds, we've got dummies. Why don't we go ahead and make a sexual inappropriate?
How about we let them enjoy the show for a little bit and decide to come back before we give them a nickname?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That was a horrible idea. I agree that your idea is much better than mine.
It always is.
It's going to be one of those nights.
It is.
Yeah, fuck.
I'm sorry. I know.
What did I tell you about the sniffing, man? I mean, seriously, it sounds like you just basically were in Gavin Newsom's suitcase. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show yet again. So give you guys a quick update. The Don't Unfriend Me Constitution, these are 100% leather-bound, 144 pages. They are from the Library of Congress / Smithsonian. And Arcadia Books, they do all the books. So when you go down and you go to the Washington Memorial, you go to the Lincoln Memorial, whatever, these books are always there, and they're small, and I sell them in the Documents of Freedom. Well, we had such a great relationship with Arcadia. This is their brand new book for the year, and it's got 144 pages. It's in beautiful font. It's the full Constitution. This is the legal edition of the Constitution. You also have some pages in here which have the biographies of all the framers. It's like 40 pages there, and then you get a full color copy inside here of the Constitution of the United States inside this little blue sleeve that I'm struggling to navigate right now. But all of it's there, 100% leather. It's available on the Don't Unfriend Me Show at thedumshow.com. You get 10% off. Also, we've got coffee and hats and shirts and all these fun things that you can see. So if you have not had a chance to go over there, and I'll also let you know that we have a 5-star rating. It's one of the best ratings on the internet as far as podcasts. If you take a look, I think there's over 200 verified 5 stars out of 3,000 some odd purchases. And you can actually see this service that we use. Pretty much everyone uses it. And we have a very, very strong rating. And that goes back to my days in retail and Apple and everything else, is making sure that customers are satisfied. And they are. So let's get to it. Gail says, that little scumbag made over $400K per year off his job, more than the Prez. I hope we never have another bureaucrat that makes that much money, any job without qualifications. Gail, who are we talking about here?
Yeah. Just curious.
Ooh, Mike Lynch says, call them the Dubes, the dummy version of newbies. Dubes. I love that. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Dubes, the Dubes. We've got a lot of new Dubes. I love that. That's good. Coin it.
Dubes.
I'll make sure. Dubes. The Dubes.
The Dubes.
So, Dube, that's my car. Anyway, so we'll do that. Last thing is that you'll see a number down here, show goal. Last night was crazy. It was like $130 at like 9 o'clock. And I was like, oh God, here's the night that we don't hit it. And I really didn't say anything about it, but people came through once I started pointing it out. But we always like to try to get that out of the way as fast as possible. You don't have to pay us to be here. If you want to watch this, it's completely free. Don't ever feel obligated. Don't feel like, oh man, I haven't given the Dumb Show money. That's not what we're doing here. We're not trying to grift. We're trying to keep this show going because Facebook took almost $15,000 monthly away from us. So for the last 10 months, it's been 10 months we've been doing donations. We have never missed a night. And every single person makes it happen. So we thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And if you can donate, it's 100% secure on PayPal and Venmo, or you can mail us. A lot of people ask, should I send a check or a money order? I kind of feel better with a money order because checks and checking accounts, that scares me. But people have also sent cash and cookies and home goods and stuff. And we've gotten a smorgasbord of just about everything. So we thank you so much. All right.
Dale was talking about Fauci.
Oh yeah, he's a horrible human being. So we'll find out about the Pete Hegseth nomination. I think it's 9:00 tonight. They did a cloture, and that is like a preemptive vote to find out, to get a pulse of where we're at and where we're not. And he was pushed through at 51 votes, which means that J.D. Vance did not have to be the tying vote because it looks like McConnell finally came back home. But Murkowski and Collins, of course, because they're just liberals, voted for Katani Jackson and voted for Merrick Garland, but is shooting down Pete Hegseth. So we'll talk a little about that tonight. Eli Crane has an amazing stint on the House floor where he challenged veterans having their firearms removed because they need a little help. Maybe financial, maybe around TBI or brain trauma, and he did an amazing job. I got to get Eli back on, and I know he's busy. I know he's big name now. I know he's on like Steve Bannon all the time, and he was on Rogan, and yeah. But he's got to come over to the show, and I got to find a way to get him. So at 9 p.m., Liv, remind me please to bounce on over to one of the channels. Okay. So got a whole bunch of show and some meltdowns, right? I mean, we haven't done it election. Sandra Casey, thank you for your donation, $21.10. We appreciate you. We haven't really done any meltdowns because it's kind of been focused on the election, but we got to get back to normal here and get back to our bread and butter. I want to start off with a Joe Rogan clip. And Liv, you've heard Joe a couple of times, but you're not an avid Joe Rogan listener, are you?
No, I don't listen to any podcasts. To be completely honest, except this one.
Yeah, that's
about
this
it.
is the one you want to listen to.
Yeah, this is about it. So, I mean, I'll watch snippets here and there, but
can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just something in the air or the ambient transient glow of the 3200 Kelvin lights, but I am so fucking in love with you, and you are just drop dead gorgeous.
Thank
and
you.
I
makes me feel good, even though I don't feel good.
Maybe
you're gonna make me blush.
I think it's Friday.
It is Friday.
We
have a weekend together.
It's been a week.
Yep.
But you are just fucking smoking.
Thank you.
And I love you. You're just beautiful.
Too.
Yeah, you just make my heart skip. You'll be a bitch in an hour, but right now you're awfully hot.
I'll make you pay for it next week, right?
Right now I'm in trouble.
Bad
I
for
already
you
know I'm in trouble.
cognitively.
Here is Joe Rogan.
Makes sense to be on a team.
I like Joe. I think Joe is a purveyor of truth, and I think he likes to uncover things he doesn't necessarily understand. And he is a patient listener. He can certainly stand up for himself and bring it, but I do love his approach. Christine Clark says, thank you for the show, and I love all the items I've gotten from your store. That's awesome. That's always good to hear. Here's the video. Just good topic, right? Of a political discourse in the country today, and who we are. And I've said this 100 times. People say, hey, Republican or Democrat. I'm like, I'm an American. And first and foremost. And I don't believe political ideology is it should be a factor when assessing somebody's character. I think we can have political discourse. I think we can disagree. I think we don't have to necessarily always be on the same page, but we should always try to treat each other amicably. And I fail at it. I'm not going to lie. I go after libs just as much as anybody, but this is a really well put clip. Listen to this.
Makes sense to be on a team.
Right.
It doesn't make sense at all. Even for someone like me, like, you know, who, I went to the inauguration, you know,
How was that?
Bizarre, but I don't consider myself.
Real quick, Joanne says, does the store take Venmo or debit cards? I believe it takes both. I know we take PayPal. And we can work together and figure out whatever it takes. Just let me know. But head on over there. There's a ton of things. There's not much we don't take. We even have payment plans. So take a look.
Myself a Republican. I don't consider myself a Democrat either. I consider myself an American. I'm a human being. And there's a lot of things that the Democrats believe that I believe too. There's a lot of things that they say that I say that makes a lot of sense to me. And there's a lot of things that the Republicans say that makes a lot of sense to me too. And the idea that I have to ignore things that make sense to me because it's coming from the wrong team is just stupid. And the idea, these are bad faith arguments where you have to have a conversation with someone and pretend that what they're saying is not logical because they're supposed to be your opponent. That to me is just dumb. It doesn't make that doesn't benefit me at all. It doesn't benefit anybody listening at all. It's just stupid. It's a stupid way to think. It's so limiting and it's so bad for you cognitively because
your thoughts on that, Livy? I mean, like you said, you thank you, Bobby, just because she says, well, thank you so much, Bobby. You were amazing.
I happen to agree. The fact that people are, you know, what's your political affiliation? And then they judge you by that.
Right.
No. Okay. Just because I believe in something doesn't mean, you know, I'm a set person. Just because I say I'm a conservative or Republican doesn't mean I'm this set person. And people have it in their mind that Republicans and conservatives are one way and liberals and Democrats are one way. And there's no wiggle room. You're this or you're that. And why does it matter what political affiliation? Because I am a person outside of my political affiliation.
Right.
I have views from the Democratic Party as well. I do not agree wholeheartedly and 100% with the Republican Party. There are some items on the Democratic Party that I agree with, but majority of my morals and standards are from the Republican Party. But I shouldn't be based on that. I should be based on myself as a person, my morals, my standards, and how I live my life and treat other people. That's how you should judge me. That's how other people should decide whether or not they like me, is not on political affiliation, but who I am as a person. And I will never treat you any different regardless of what political affiliation you are. I don't care. That doesn't make you who you are. That has nothing to do with your personality or anything like that.
So how do we get past... I mean, does there need to be a level of anonymity when it comes to our political beliefs before or in the courting period of getting to know somebody? We're not talking about a relationship, but we're talking about you meet somebody for the first time. Do we need to go back to the unspoken rule that you don't talk about the big five? You don't talk about religion. You don't talk about abortion. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about what else?
I thought it was just the three.
Sports teams? No, it's five.
I thought it was religion, politics, and
one of them sport. Sports is a big one because, especially with guys, and basically, it's not that you're trying to cover up who you are. You're trying to set yourself up for success to build a relationship with somebody, and people have to like you in order to change their mind. And can you think of anyone in your life that you didn't like who changed? Or help? Nobody can change you, but put you on a path of change or growth. Can you think of anyone who you don't?
You, for starters,
you don't like me.
I do like you,
but
are you talking about that I didn't like at first?
Yeah, or like at all? Can you think of even anyone who you didn't like in any time in your life, made meaningful change and inspired you to change? Can you think of anyone?
No,
I can't either.
I mean, off the top of my head, no.
Right.
I mean, I know people who have had that relation. Has my cousin, her husband, they've been married for 27 years now. She hated him when she first met him. She hated him.
Right.
But she started working for his company and they got to be friends and blah, blah, blah. So, but no, I don't think I ever have.
Okay. So you guys might see me do this to Olivia. I'm not trying to control her. We're trying to redo our voice.
We're figuring out the mics.
Our presence, and we're so close to each other. I mean, literally, it's just like, we're touching. We're touching. So our mics are so sensitive. So we're getting a sound wall to put here, but we're trying to learn how not to, clip out. Well, we can't clip out with these mics. They're too good. But we're trying to control the overall speaking tempo because it's especially important for the podcast where there's nobody watching us. So our inflection is important. So that's why I'm telling her, to pipe down in a good way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've been saying this for years. When I was growing up, you didn't talk about what political affiliation.
Right.
I asked my parents one time and they told me, no, it's none of your business. That's how it should be. And until the politicians and the media can stop focusing on what your political affiliation is, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's because the media has made out the Democrats are evil or the Republicans are evil. And so now people have it in their head that who you are as a person and what they're going to base their opinion on of you is who you vote for and what side you align yourself with.
Yeah.
So
I think it's an interesting point. And listen, it doesn't mean that you don't call people.
Makes sense to be on a team.
Sorry.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't call people out. It doesn't mean you don't engage in conversation. It just means that maybe if you're just meeting somebody, sitting down, and this is like, this goes to me big time. Sending my birthday, enjoying the best damn show. Maddie Howenitz, congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy. Matt, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you for giving us something on your birthday. That's extremely unselfish. It's amazing. Tamar says, I was taught you don't talk about religion, politics, or sex. Yeah, I think abortion's thrown in there too.
yeah.
Sensitive topics. I think sexual disposition's a huge thing now.
Yeah.
I don't think you should talk about your pronouns, honestly. I just think there's some things that you just build a relationship, get someone to like you, like them, and then you can find out if you actually want to invest in that relationship versus just, blowing it up. And I'm to blame for some of this. There's no doubt. I tend to get into politics because it's what I do. It's what I live. And unfortunately, sometimes you take your work to your personal. And I've got to, when I go to the restaurant, I have to stop talking politics because it turns people off. Okay, so a lot of people, guys, if you have questions, just put the Q in front. Like I see a lot of people asking questions, but I'm not going to get to those unless you put the Q in front because Olivia doesn't know it's a question. And so if you want to talk about something specifically, throw that Q right in front of it. It's real simple, and it just means question. And when we search the letter Q, which is the most unused letter in the alphabet, along with Z, we can go ahead and hit you up. So do me a favor, do that for us, please. So good intro. I mean, just something to think about. Pete Hegseth is getting a vote at 9:00. We are going to cover it. And Elizabeth Warren had some things to say. Did they really confirm Pete? No, not till 9:00. So they did.
Did she say, oh,
Take it down. That was so loud.
sorry.
Yeah, you got to remember your mic picks up everything now. So just take it down. She didn't say blah, blah. But what's interesting is that as a Native American, you think she'd be a little more sensitive with people who have a drinking problem, since all that fire water ran through her blood and all of her ancestors. But she's going after Hegseth, and they're doing whatever they can. They're releasing stuff over the last 24 hours. They are trying everything they can to get him.
Why do they hate him so much? I don't
Because
get it.
he's a white male who's a Christian who's military. He's alpha. And his masculinity they consider to be toxic. So tonight at 9 there'll be a vote, but that's what this is about. This has nothing to do with his qualifications. It has everything to do with that he's a white, good-looking male, Christian, straight, military man who is alpha and puts bacon bits on his cornflakes. They can't stand that shit. And it's why Apple forced me out. And it's why Comcast forced me out. And NBC is white, tattooed, Christian, ex-military men, age 40 to 45 are bad for business now. Now, I hope with this new DEI shit that stops, but this is the norm. Here's Elizabeth Warren. I want you to listen to this. But like I said, they've released new, they tried to do it, his ex-wife's sister, and then the ex-wife came out and said, no. They said, well, he abused her and scared her and she was fearing for her life. And then the ex-wife came out and goes, I don't know what they're talking about, but that is not true. And so they're obviously throwing money, same thing they did with Kavanaugh, same thing they did with Amy Coney Barrett, is they're throwing money at people to come out and trash Hegseth. And this is where investigation should take place. This is where ethics committee violations should be monitored because there is no reason for his sister, the ex-wife's sister, to come out and lie unless she's incentivized to lie. Love this show. Kevster says, we love you too, buddy. Thank you for donating $21.
I also want to say thank you to Joanne for the recent order, short of the Constitution and a Red Friday hoodie.
Oh, cool. Red Friday hoodie. Well, we'll get the Red Friday hoodie out tomorrow. And then the book I will try to send out Monday. So FYI. So here's Elizabeth Warren. And it's not about hearing Elizabeth Warren because she has something to say. It's to give you the mentality of how hard they are trying to not confirm him and create as much trash as they possibly can. Here it is.
When people are talking about what did we learn with this affidavit, it's all the same pattern. It's story after story after story after story about drunk. And I don't mean, a couple of drinks before dinner. I mean drunk. I mean the kind of drunk where standing outside a hotel and peeing drunk. I mean...
Been there, done that.
He was military.
Still a good human being. I pissed in the potted plant at E3 in the Mirage and right in the hallway. And I think it was the connection between Caesar's Palace and I want to say the Mirage. I don't really remember. I was drunk as shit. And I pissed right in the potted plant. Couldn't find a bathroom. Just right there. And still a good person. But yeah, I peed in plants.
Someone had to get you upstairs and into your hotel room. The kind of...
I've done that.
I've done that.
Yep, David and Glenda carried me up. And I had 12 7-7s and 8 beers in like 2.5 hours. I started a fire with a pocket knife and a rock because we couldn't find any matches for the hotel. So I got a rock and I got a buck knife and started a fire with it and sparked it. And David was like, oh, don't cut your hand off. You're drunk. And then I went back and I had a prime rib and a baked potato and a salad waiting for me because I ordered it at like 10 o'clock when the restaurant closed. And they just dropped it off in my room at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they let me off the elevator and they're like, you gonna be okay? I said, oh yeah, I'm good. And I walked down the hall and I laid down in front of my door and I woke up at like 4 and then got up and I ate the prime rib and I ate the salad.
You never told me
Oh,
this.
I was hammered. I was so hammered.
Which Comcast party was this?
This is when we drove up north in Houston and went to that resort.
Oh, that's right.
And it was like 2.5 hours away. It was a ritzy ditzy resort.
That's
and
right.
Oh my God, but I handled it so well. I mean, but David's like, dude, I've never seen anyone put so much alcohol away. And yeah, so pretty fun.
You know what? I would love to see Miss Pocahontas in her college days because I guarantee she was a freaking party animal.
And she slept around.
Guaranteed
she slept around.
It's like they were like, our shit doesn't stink. I've never had a drink in my life.
Oh, well,
I've never done this. I've never done that. And it's like, really, people?
You know she got loose on the firewater in peyote when she was doing her lodge sweat. Here's the rest.
Drunk that you take work folks to a strip club.
Done it. Been there. Happened.
And so drunk then that you try to get up on stage and dance with the strippers.
Japan. Yeah. Roppongi. Yep. Absolutely. 120%. About 4 cans of Chuhai and then a couple of beers and a Habasaki shot, and I was done. Yep, dancing with the strippers, no doubt. They all loved me too. Everyone says, "Oh, the stripper loved." They really did. They all loved me. They wanted to marry me. It wasn't my money that I was giving them, and like literally blowing my entire check. I'm sure they actually loved me. Yeah, right.
The kind of drunk that stopped the Uber because you're going to vomit drunk.
We didn't have Ubers, but I'd stopped a taxi in Japan and got thrown up against a squad car. I got a picture of that. We can find that on Facebook.
Yep, I've seen that one.
You've seen that one?
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
I almost got arrested in Japan. I would have lost my clearance. But yeah, I'd stopped the taxi and I almost puked. And then the taxi driver called me over. And do you understand how drunk you have to be to get public intoxication in Japan, where literally everybody drinks? Yeah.
So we're talking about out of control drunk, passed out dead cold drunk.
Yeah, I've been there.
There's story after story after story. When people...
Yeah, you know what? I think that should be a qualification for a military person.
Military, my God.
Listen, even if he is all those things, he has had letter after letter from Fox News and everyone who's worked with that alcohol has never been a problem. But when you work hard, you play hard. And after you punch the clock and you get inside the wire, you let loose, you let your hair down, you have some fun. And this is the way that military men party. And yeah, dancing with strippers. Pete Hegseth is a devout Christian. He's asked for forgiveness. He's been penitent in his design to devote his life to his family, his wife, and God. And who is she to judge? I mean, she lied on every application from college to jobs that she was a Native American when it suited her, and completely lied in order to gain advantage and used cultural appropriation. And she's a multimillionaire. So pardon me if you clutching your pearls does anything for me. Any thoughts you got on this hoochie?
If we're all going to be judged on our actions from when we are young, we might as well just shut everything down. I mean, if we're going to do that, let's just go back to toddlerhood on all the fits we threw, based off that. There's a reason why we're children and we grow up. And there's a reason why you're not getting a $500,000 prestigious job right out of high school.
Right.
Because you have to go and be stupid in college and you have to go and live your life.
Right.
And you got to mature a little bit. And to be judging somebody on when they're in their early 20s, when he's now 50 something? 30 years ago? Yeah, go back 10, maybe 15 years.
And he was drinking 10 years ago. And a lot of these things are recent in the sense of the last 5 to 10 years. But
go based on, there's a reason there's references on a resume when you apply for a job. Because those references have worked with you. They know you on a personal level. They know the kind of worker you are and the kind of person you are. And that's what they should be going off of. Not, I heard a rumor from my best friend's sisters, cousins-in-law, second twice removed niece that she thinks she saw Pete Hegseth throwing up in a toilet in the women's bathroom at a bar when he was 16. Why? What's the frickin' point?
Right.
Base it on your professional life and where you are now, not then. And considering, I understand he's going for military. That's the whole point, right? Head of the military.
Oh, SecDef, yeah.
SecDef, yeah. Look at his military career, not what he did on his off time, but what he did in the military.
Listen, some people are like, well, I stopped all that when I was 30. Some people drink. Some people have a good time. I don't care about any of those things. What I care about is he dependable? Has he demonstrated a willingness to perform the job to the best of his ability? Is he qualified? And nobody's qualified for this job. Tim Cook isn't even qualified for this job. This job is not, it doesn't have a lot of requirements. But I've said this before. Am I more qualified to be SecDef than Pete Hegseth? Not from a military perspective, but from a leadership and business perspective? Hell yes. I've ran a $2.1 billion P&L. And that's not the same as a $650 billion panel. Mike Lynch, thank you. Love Friday nights.
Did I beat Bobby?
Did I beat Bobby?
No,
Nope.
unfortunately.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
Nobody beats Bobby. Bobby gets up early in the morning. But the point is this, is that, but I can't be SecDef. I would never run for political office because here's what I would do. If I ran for political office, this is what I do. I say, I'm announcing that I'm running. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you any of my political positions. I am going to release my SSBI, my full clearance, and that will take me up to the age of like 35. And it will give you all the dirt that I did at 35. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the gaps for the last 15 years. And I'm going to list everything on my website. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. This is everything you need to know about me. From drunken stupor, from doing peyote, from doing acid, from sleeping with a whole bunch of people I shouldn't have, and being a real horrible person to people, and not being the greatest dad sometimes, and not being the greatest husband sometimes, and being ostracized from my family and other things. And here's all my vindication that I have spent a lifetime moving through. Here's all my sins: dropping out of school, getting banned from the California school districts, which is a whole nother conversation. Smoking weed at 13 and 14 at Def Leppard, all of these things that I did. Here it is. Here's everything. And I want the press to vet and go try to find anything else they can. And then as soon as that's out there, I'm going to go ahead and have my policies laid out, and I'm going to start stumping and start running for election. And if the numbers aren't indicative of somewhat of success, I'm pulling out and I'm done. But the problem is that it goes back to Joe Rogan, is that when we look at candidates, when we look at human beings, we don't look at all the things that make them qualified. We only look at one or two of those things in our own head that make them unqualified. And what Democrats do is they continue to sling mud until they get a bite from the American public. They get more than 50% of the American public biting on that bait. And once they do, they yank the string. And once they have that, they just put one or two things out there and they get that person disqualified. And if people don't bite on it, that person makes it through. They tried it with Ratcliffe. People pushed back immensely. Ratcliffe got certified. I think it was, 73, 20, 27 or some shit. So we know Pam Bondi, they pushed her back. And the reason why is everyone's like, well, I thought she had the votes. She does. It only takes one senator to make a motion of contention to push it for more time to evaluate. And it just takes one. And they did that. They are going to do this. They're going to slow down the process. But now we have Marco Rubio, who's passed. We have Ratcliffe, who was passed today. Hegseth should pass tonight at 9 o'clock, minus any last-minute bullshit. Pam Bondi will be processed through probably in 6 days. And once that happens, really the only two that are really super contentious is Tulsi Gabbard, who I still have my reservations about. And everyone knows that. And RFK. This is the game. This is the way it works, and this is the way it's always been. So I think what we do is we watch tonight, see what happens, we can go from there. Right. And if you run as a Democrat, it's not like we haven't, thrown a monkey wrench in Democrats' plans. We did it, but it was out of spite and out of reciprocity for what they have been doing for 40 years, starting with the Garza nomination from Ronald Reagan on the federal level, a first Mexican judge, and Joe Biden and Democrats shut him down because of racial reasons. Let's be honest, because he was a Mexican. They did the same thing to Clarence Thomas because he was black. Don't touch me like that. So, you got to just assume that this will continue and Trump's momentum is going to take him through. I mean, I truly believe that. I want to show you guys something. We got a lot of people on, so that's good. This is what I want to show you. Everyone knows that you guys know I care about Eli Crane immensely.
Yes.
Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 3. I don't think we're friends, but if we saw each other, I think probably slap each other on the back, give each other a hug, and have a beer. But, you know, his wife is an amazing human being who I admire and just adore. She treated me so kindly and wrote me and said, I've seen all the podcasts in the world and I love yours the most. And I love the intro and I love the way thank you. Would love to trade stories sometimes. Hi, Joseph from Frankwood. Thank you, Frankie. 2110 from Frank. Thanks, buddy. So I followed Eli's career. He just won his reelection. So
good.
He is officially still there. I think that Eli needs to run for governor of Arizona. And if I could talk to him in a long way, like I know I could send him on Instagram, but I'm very conscientious of how much I send him because he's busy. And when I do send him something, I want him to reply. But I think he's doing great work. And I know the Freedom Caucus has upset some people. And they think, oh, well, with McCarthy, you know what? I would rather have an opposition party inside the Republican Party to keep people honest. And I believe that's what they're doing. They're creating opposition to go away from the neocons and the Uniparty. I want you to listen to this because this is so close to my heart because you guys know how much I care about vets and veteran crisis hotline and suicide. This was an amazing 4 minutes. So I'd love for everyone to take a second, stop what you're doing and listen to this. Here is Eli Crane, Representative District 1, Arizona, in the House of Representatives.
Thank you guys for showing up today. It's unfortunate that we don't have the FBI and anybody from Homeland Security here to testify before the committee. You guys have all discussed numerous attempts to and even successfully infiltrate by our adversaries to hack into our critical infrastructure. We've been talking about our healthcare system today, the power grid, water infrastructure, corporate infrastructure out with the federal.
Damn it. Wrong one. Let me go get it on Instagram. I thought I found it on Twitter. It's just easier for me because Twitter's so simple, but I did save it over here. But I have to figure out somehow where I put my bookmarks. Where do I saved? Hot damn, I'm learning. All right, this is amazing.
On to this committee today. Thank you to you guys for showing up. Let's just get this straight right now. What is this hearing that we're having really about? It's really about whether or not unelected bureaucrats can strip away Second Amendment God-given rights from our veterans if they need help managing their finances or their assets. Is that correct? I think it is. All right. This is wrong in so many ways. And what I'm hearing my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say is that, well, we're concerned about veteran suicide. And so since most of them are committing suicide with firearms, we need to have measures and tools to, take those firearms away from them. That's what I'm hearing. What about civilians that are committing suicide and using firearms? Are we going to also argue in this body that they should have their firearms and their Second Amendment rights taken away from them? I looked up fiduciary, and here's a quick summary definition. Someone who is legal.
You got to love Eli Crane because most blowhard politicians would not say that he had to look up fiduciary. And the fact that he had to look it up and he admits it just shows the level of humility that he has. This guy is a door kicker. He understands how serious life is. The guy has seen things that most people can't even imagine. And he's got a level of humility, but you can tell he also has an attitude of, don't F with me. And last night I tried to explain my uncle. Eli reminds me of my uncle very much. And you put a foot and 6 inches on him because that's what it would require, because Eli's not necessarily the tallest guy in the world. But He very much reminds me of him, and that's why I immediately got along with him. He is pragmatic, honest, direct, and he doesn't show a lot of emotion. But when he does, oh boy. Here's an example.
Obligated to act solely in the best interest of another party managing their assets or affairs. There are many people I know, and I'm sure many of you know people out there that need help managing their assets or their affairs. I'm sorry, but I don't remember in the Constitution where it says if somebody needs help managing their assets or their affairs, that they should have their Second Amendment rights taken away from them. And when it comes to suicide, a lot of these individuals, a lot of veterans, and there's 4 of us on this panel right now that are not only veterans, but we're all from the special operations community who I think are against this will tell you this right now. Many of our veterans that are struggling with PTSD and have some of these issues that we're talking about here today, one of our biggest issues is fear and trauma because we thought we might lose our life or we lost our life in battle against other people with guns. If you want to increase veteran suicide, take some of these issues who are afraid, isolated, and alone, and take away their ability to defend themselves. That's a really good way to actually increase what these guys say that they're trying to stop. All right? I want to ask you guys a question. At any point, does the VA have to establish that a veteran is a threat to themselves or a danger to others when administratively reporting a veteran with a fiduciary to NICS, which again is the National Instant Criminal System? No. Okay, thank you. Does having a fiduciary alone mean that someone is mentally incompetent or mentally deficient?
No.
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 Is there any data, hold on, is there any data correlating having a fiduciary or being associated with increased risk of homicide or suicide?
No.
No.
Those 3 quick answers right there show the American people exactly what's been taking place here. Violation of Second Amendment rights without due process. Captain McCormick, is it due process to have unelected bureaucrats making a designation about a veteran's mental state or, need of a fiduciary? Is that due process, sir?
No, sir, it's not.
Why do you think it's important that, for our constitutional God-given rights to be stripped of us, why do you think it should be necessary to have due process, sir?
Well, so that we can ensure that that doesn't happen, because if it happens to us, it looks like we're almost in this socio class that they're testing this on almost, and I'm not trying to be, have a conspiracy theory, but we're the only class of citizens that they do this to.
Yeah, and my colleague, Mr. Self over here, I believe you're Special Forces, is that right, Mr.
Sure.
Self? Yeah, he brought up, is there any other class of people that's treated this way?
Nope.
No. Why is it fair for veterans to be treated this way?
Not.
It's unfair.
How many veterans have lost their Second Amendment rights, to your knowledge, Mr.
Listen to this shit.
Because of these, overreaching VA regulations?
I think the number was just over 270,000, sir.
Yeah, that's what I saw as well. And that's why this is my bill, H.R. 496, that would not only stop the VA from doing this in the future, but would restore the God-given constitutional rights to these veterans. We need to get behind this. And I hope my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, many of them who are not veterans, would take it maybe from the veterans up here who are saying, hey, this isn't the way to do it. And Mr. Washington, God bless you, sir. Thank you for your service, and I am dearly sorry for the loss of your son. I mean that. But Mr. Washington himself said when he was feeling suicidal, what did he say? He was running red lights on his motorcycle, hoping that somebody would end it quickly, or he was thinking about jumping off a bridge. So let's be really clear in here right now. If we're going to have tough conversations, let's have tough conversations. There are countless ways to commit suicide. Taking firearms and constitutional rights from veterans away is not going to help. It's actually going to hurt our veteran community. Thank you. I yield back.
So what pisses me off is that, so I did some math and did some research on this. So I'm just going to read to you the statement. H.R. 496 is to direct the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to notify the Attorney General that basis for the transmission of certain information to the Department of Justice for use by national instant criminal background check systems was improper, and it does not apply or apply for other purposes. It's the first stage for the legislative process. It was introduced in Congress on January 16th, 2025. It will typically be considered by committee next before it's possibly sent to the House or Senate or other activities. The issue is doing the math on this and looking at other bills that have been proposed of similar nature, which is restricting background checks, have about a 5% chance of being enacted. It has an 8% chance of getting out of committee. In my opinion, this is one of the bills that needs to be an executive order. And federal background checks, this falls under the purview of Donald Trump. And Eli has Trump's ear. And if this does not hit committee and it's not voted on, it's not passed, which liberals are never going to allow this, and Republicans will never allow this, because the ramifications of this are incredibly high, because veterans are considered to be second-class citizens because they've signed their rights away.
This doesn't make sense. The people that consider them second-class citizens are the people that hid behind them to get the freedom.
Well, that's the thing. We're considered second-class because we have given up our rights. We signed our lives away. We signed our lives away not to civilly or criminally go after the United States government for the things that they had done to us. And it doesn't matter whether it's burn pits or injecting us with experimental this or that, or, people who suffer from doing sit-ups on their back on a tile floor for 6 weeks and doing them by the hundreds and literally displacing their discs while they're doing so. People who suffer from injuries in training accidents, people who are, they have the Band-Aid approach of giving them Oxycontin and codeine, hydrocodone, like it's cornflakes, and I got whatever I wanted. I mean, I had analgesic rebound within 21 days of my first prescriptions because they were loading me up on so many painkillers. I became habitually addicted to painkillers in the first 7 days in Yokosuka, Japan in 1997. So they treat us that way because they can, and they hold Agent Orange and Gulf War syndrome. We go yes. The answer is yes. So they treat us this way because they still provide our retirement, our separation, our medical severance, and our VA care. Is that they will withhold these things unless we comply.
Yeah, how about instead of taking away their rights, let's fix the VA system.
Yeah.
So the veterans that have PTS can get the help they need. Don't make it taboo for a veteran to come out and say, I'm depressed. I have PTS of what I went through. I need help. They're looked down upon for saying they need help. And that shouldn't be the case. For a normal person who has not served and just says, I need to go see somebody. I'm feeling depressed. I'm thinking about, maybe committing suicide. I just don't know, blah, 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 blah. No one questions when they want to look for a therapist. That's never questioned. So
Right.
Why is it questioned for veterans? It should not be taboo. They should be able to get and be able to see any therapist that they can, not just VA approved therapists. They should be able to see close to home where they don't have to drive 6 hours to go there. The VA system needs to be fixed like ASAP.
Warfighters are not designed to negotiate with their feelings or their emotions. And this is the stigmatism. But now that we understand TBI, we understand PTS, we understand anxiety and depression more effectively, we are putting our warfighters in more hostile situations than ever before. And breacher syndrome just isn't for people kicking doors. You have artillery who are suffering that. You have people downrange who are taking in ordnance that's incoming who suffer from consistent impacts. There's inappropriate soundproofing and suppression for firing rifles and firing 249s or a 50 cal off of a ship because the proper air equipment isn't utilized. And the essence is just do it. we put our war fighters in a constant cyclical damaging event and replicate it over an entire career, and then don't understand when these people get out and take their lives. And the only way we're going to crack this is to understand that a respite needs to take place. Shorter deployments, less time outside the wire, using autonomous units to ensure that our intelligence is accurate so we're not wasting resources of our operators, sending them out into the fray, going to dry holes, going to wild goose chase that pay nothing, limiting their rules of engagement where they are now acting and targeting HVTs 2 or 3 or 4 times with a failure because of the ROE that's in place that hamstrings them from doing their job. And if we can limit these things, we can limit their exposure and vulnerabilities. We have been misusing our special forces and our soft community for a long time. And we were doing it when I was in. We're doing it now. And more importantly, we're misclassifying the specialities of the military. Marines are an expeditionary force. They're an infantry. They're not to be utilized like the Army. They are first in, last out. They are skirmishers. They are low numbers to hold superior forces. Army is mechanized, and Army Air Cav and airborne is specifically used for airports and holding forward operating positions in a lethal and effective manner to create a FOB in a very quick and effective way and hold that and secure it. Navy is used for air, land, and sea, but is very specific in its AOR and its designed and is overutilized and put into vulnerabilities where it should not be going through the Gulf, should not be going through areas. It should be over the horizon targeting. Air Force is predominantly high altitude with close air support. That is their AOR and that is their mission. But we are using the Air Force for things that the Navy should be doing. And we're using the Army for things that the Marines should be doing. And we're using the SEAL teams that the Airborne should be doing. And this is ineffectual leadership. And this is where Hegseth will understand the mission parameters of what the war fighter is supposed to do. And thank you so much, Jennifer McCarver. And she says, my contribution for buying Leroy a new lighting system. Poor guy looks like he has a bad case of jaundice. Jennifer, it's not his lighting, it's his camera. And I have one for him. He just needs to kick his child out of the basement so he has more room. We've been talking about this for 2 years. So it's not the lights. I bought all of his equipment for him. So I'm waiting just for him to give me the green light. And I've got a $1,200 camera and about $600 in lights that are going right to him, and I'm shipping them to him. So thank you. But I'll use that money to continue to upgrade the show, and we appreciate you. But this is it. Pete Hegseth is going to segment the military the way it should be, and he is going to make sure that we are the most lethal force in the world pertaining to our AOR. And when they come home, they're going to have the best care through the VA, and we are going to stop abusing our warfighters. And when they come home, they should have their rights protected above all else, since they have protected ours. I agree with you, Olivia, 120%.
Yep.
And I couldn't express it even more. Mel is calling in. Let's get Mel on the phone. Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Yeah, Mel's on the phone.
I already have your graphic up. Mel from Canada. Go ahead, Mel.
Oh, from Gay, North Dakota, but it is what it is.
Gay Dakota. Yeah. Gay, North Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to call myself GND now from now on. But
sounds
yeah,
good.
no, this topic pisses me off, as you would know. I am tired of both VAs across both borders because they treat our militaries the same. It's run by flat-faced civvies who haven't got a fucking clue what any of us have gone through, dealt with, how you need to deal with it. Your VA is even worse than ours,
Yeah.
which is a really, really low bar. But vets need to take care of vets. So, and there's a lot of programs now that I see in the States where vets can go to these different counselings, whatever, but they have to pay out of their own pocket. It's not, VA is not sending these people to these places where vets can deal with vet things. Like after coming back from deployments and whatever, a serving person is expected to roll right back into their home life, city life, or whatever for the short period of time that they may be home. And they don't understand, and the families have a hard time with it. And that's why divorce and everything else and abuse and alcohol use and blah, whatever is so high in our militaries, is because when you come home, you don't have time to decompress before you get back from theaters and areas and deployments. You're not allowed that, whatever. You're expected to go back and go home, family, and then expected to do whatever. And of course, your significant other is pissed because you're walking in going, oh, well, you're not doing it, whatever. There's so many things that a flat-faced civvy doesn't understand about military life. They will have no idea, no conception. So these people sitting on their little thrones in Congress and the Senate, like whatever, they have no idea. They have no conception. Eli, even Crenshaw, like all the guys that have served, they know what it's all about. You do, Matt. Leroy does too. Like you just can't come home from a deployment and go, oh yeah, well, isn't that wonderful? Oh, you painted the wall. Like that's not how this rolls. Mm-hmm. And everything gets internalized and they just don't understand where the breaking point is going to be. So if VAs, both sides of the border, don't understand that we need outlets to talk to people who've, come to grips or understand, and we can all sit and talk, and just vent. You have to vent. You have to let it out somehow, some way, somewhere. So a lot of them don't have that place. So that's where the S word comes in, which is the ultimate whatever, like nobody is listening. I can't get anybody to whatever. And the drugs that they give us, as you know, Matt, this is oh, here's some Vicodin and all whatever. And here's some antidepressants because, oh yeah, you're depressed. I'm getting so sick and tired of hearing you're depressed. I'm depressed because you're not looking after any of us. I'm depressed that I can't get the help that I need at the time that I need it. Like it's a very frustrating time.
It's the only way that I know how to put this so people can understand is I want you to put yourself in a situation where you have to hear a repetitive noise.
Yep.
And I want you to listen to this noise 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I also, at the same time, want you to have an itch you cannot scratch.
Yep.
And every time you try to scratch it, it doesn't stop itching. And then I want you to take the situation when you used to be younger, when your dad was going to come home and you're going to get the belt and you had that thing in your throat and you couldn't let it go and it was choking you. You tried to swallow and you couldn't, and it felt like there was an apple stuck in your throat.
Yep.
And now that you've got those things, I want you to go ahead and toss on top of all of those things a process of thought that it will never stop and it will never get better. And now you understand why. And now you understand why people take their lives, because the pain that they are feeling is so incredibly gargantuan in its pull and force that ending your life and losing all external and internal stimuli is the only solution, because they are not knocking down pins to make the pain and the sound and the overall agony go away. And there is a way to make it go away. And it starts with conversation. It starts with understanding. It starts with possibly counseling. And the most important thing is acceptance. And once you can talk about it, once you can get it out, once you can share with people who understand. But the problem is that the wife doesn't understand, or the husband doesn't understand, or the kids don't understand, or the civvy psychiatrist doesn't understand, and command doesn't give a fuck.
1,000%.
That's the problem.
That's
we need
the problem.
We need to care more.
We need not so much care more, well, that too, but we need education. We need like this. I don't know if you have it down there, but we've instituted here, we call it the Military Family Resource Center. So now before deployments, it doesn't matter whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, they get the families to come, and then of course the asshole officers out there going, no, they need the junior people to talk to the families and going, this is what's going to happen. This is what you need to expect during or before, during, and after the deployment. They have to set the families up for success, because the only way the member is going to help to be healed or helped is if the family unit is engaged as well. And that's where they've left out the whole thing. Within the military group, they've left out the families. They just concentrate on the military members and deployments and blah, whatever, but they forget about the other network these people are going to need when they get home, and how to deal with that. Like both the wife and the husband and the kids. The kids when they're young, well, they're very resilient, but they go off the cues of their parents. So when they see the stress between mom and dad, the kids are going to get stressed, like whatever. So it has to become a family dynamic. So that's where the military systems in both our countries have failed, all of us miserably, is they haven't engaged and included the families as part of it. Because, and just to point at whatever, my ex apparently was diagnosed with PTSD. To me, it was a bullshit, whatever. But anyways, they never engaged me. They never asked me about signs, symptoms, or whatever. They never asked my kids, like whatever. They never brought the family into it. They just whatever. But without doing the groundwork to find out about the PTSD or whatever, and how it was affecting anybody else. It was just the member. They didn't care about.
Yeah.
And I found out like months or years later, and I went, why didn't the shrink bring me in whatever for a conversation to get my take on his behavior and blah, whatever. But that was not a part of it. And that's where the failure is. There's no talking to the families, and that's where the biggest healing can start. Yeah.
So when I say care, I thought you'd pick up on this. It's not.
Yeah, I know.
Care is not emotion. Conversation, acknowledgement, realism, recognition, and engagement. Right. Yeah. That's care, and that's the first steps of PTS, and those are the 4 steps of acceptance, and that's what I mean by care. Command doesn't execute on care, and civilians don't understand what the hell it means. And I can't sit here and tell my wife my nightmares. And she asked me last night, and she's, I don't know, 2 nights ago, and I always snuggle up to her, and I wrap my arms around her, and I won't let her go. And she's like, "You okay? You had a bad nightmare?" Uh-huh. And she goes, "What was it about?" And I don't answer her. And she doesn't need to know. And I can't possibly explain it. So I just don't. And there's guys out there who have seen 1,000,000 times worse shit than I have. Right. And they're the ones, I'm looking at still images, or I'm looking at a satellite photo, or, I'm looking at an eagle eye look at this. And I'm not on ground floor, and these are the guys who are actually crawling through the rubble, and these are the guys who are actually looking for the HVT that was a target, and instead it's women and children. These are the things that people just don't understand, and it's just the days of compartmentalization are over. We killed a generation of men and women who compartmentalization, adapt and override, right? Ignore and override. It was the mission, and now it needs to be care. And you got you got to put them in a room with other people.
Yes.
Got to put them in
And
with other
that's
people.
why it's got to be taken away from flat-faced civvies that have no conception and whatever. And it's baby steps. And like I said, families have to be included, all of them.
Yeah. Thomas says, Matt, I will just say IEDs really fucking suck. You have to remember, my good friend, 2.5 months, sat here next to me with no legs. I know they suck. And he's not the only one. I have several friends who are missing limbs from IEDs. And although I have never experienced an IED blast, I have dear friends who I was deployed with who did. And you know, it's shit. And war is shit. Like I was going to do a segment on drones, and I'm seeing this Russian soldier who's in a irrigation ditch, and he's on his side, and he's got his Kalashnikov pointed down the tube, and he's holding still, and there's a drone, and it's like 15 feet over him, and he sees it, and he's not moving. He's trying to blend in. But of course, this drone has IR, it has FLIR, it has everything else. He's fucked. And and this drone just, you hear it, zzz, and this guy is visibly shaking. You see him like this, his whole body. And the drone hovers over him and goes in 5 feet and drops a canister and then zips off. And this guy immediately pops to and starts pushing against the air to get away from this canister. And it just fucking blows him to smithereens. Just nothing left. Nothing. Not a tooth.
But then there's the drone operator who has to watch this shit.
That's the thing. Yes, that guy, although it's war and it's hell and he gets off easy because his pain is over, that operator has to see that.
That's right.
And then the command and the intel team who are coordinating these strikes have to debrief, and that may be okay your first time, and you pop your cherry, and it might be okay the second time and the 10th time, but after that, the souls start visiting you in your sleep, and they want to have a fucking conversation, and they all have black eyeballs, and they're fucking bloated and cut up, and their arms are gone, and they are asking you why, and you have to somehow answer that fucking question. I don't care how hard you are. That conversation repeatedly is exactly what I'm talking about, that itch and that buzzing and that overall feeling in your throat that you cannot escape. And until you talk about it, until you get it through with like-minded people who are also in that hole, these guys are going to continue to take their lives.
Well, yeah. And it's only going to escalate, and it is. And it, you know, they can take away all the guns, whatever, but I guarantee you, like the video, whatever, the guy, he was going to use his motorcycle. They'll drive into a brick wall. They'll do it, like whatever. If you want to be successful at the S word, you're going to find a way. Trust me.
That's right.
And now the little blue or the little fentanyl pills are out there. They're just going to start swallowing those by the handful. They don't need guns.
It's not just that. It's just that a lot of these guns offer us therapy. And honestly, it's one of the greatest things. There's two things that I have found that help people with PTS, TBI, and then we're going to move on because we got to keep doing the show. And I want to have Olivia dive in on this. But the two things that I have found is shooting and target shooting and going through CQB drills and things to that effect. It disassociates from what it's like. Every round you put down range that's not lethal is a healing factor, and it slowly removes the rounds you put down range that took lives, and it kind of just each round forgives the pain you had, and it helps. It's therapeutic because you get to do it in a setting where you're not taking somebody out. You're not killing somebody. I know a lot of people, including myself, who don't hunt because they just don't want to take any, they don't want to kill anything. So
No,
that's
and that's
number
why,
one.
That's why I took up cowboy action shooting.
Right. It's because it's therapeutic. And for me, it's therapeutic. The second thing is horseback riding.
And I have that too.
I had no idea how therapeutic horseback riding was until Olivia and I went to a ranch before we came out here, and it helped my back so much. And everyone told me, they're like, go horseback riding. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I can't even get out of bed without feeling like I'm getting fucked by a rhinoceros. And you want me to go bounce on a horse? I will tell you.
Nope.
But honestly, it was great for my back, but it was the most calm I ever felt because it's me giving up control. And that's the problem, is that these guys don't know how to give up control. And when you put yourself in a situation where you trust an animal or you trust a situation, a lot of dogs can do that too. A horse is an amazing thing to help people. So I just, I love you, Mel. You know that.
That's why I have two. They get me out of bed in the morning.
Yep.
And yeah, they're my guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, love you guys.
We love you,
Love
gay.
you, Mel.
We love you, gay North Dakota.
Cheers.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye. I get asked, why do you do the show? Why, people, the frickin' people. And now you've always watched from afar, but now you get it. I'm sure you get it. You start to love these people. They become family, and it's like, I don't know. I love the people on this show.
I miss my Rumble peeps when I'm not on the show.
It's good. Well, it's a heavy conversation. It's a heavy conversation. Lifting and working out also help too. Getting yourself focused. Folks, if you have not had a chance, please like the show. Thank you, Angela. Wish it could be more. Angela, it's enough, right? Most importantly, it's from you, and we thank you so very much. It humbles us every time people take their hard-earned money and help us, and it means the world. So thank you so much. We're going to shift gears and go into something else. We'll be right back.
The DUM store is veteran-owned with a 5-star diamond rating for service and satisfaction. We offer quality products like coffee, shirts, hoodies, and hats, all made by veterans. Shop with confidence, backed by hundreds of 5-star reviews. Use code DUM10 to save 10%. Visit thedumshow.com today. Thank you for your support.
So go over to thedumshow.com. Get yourself the brand new Constitution of the United States of America with the biographies of all the framers in the back. We've also got some amazing clothes. I'm telling you, our hoodies are the shit. People love them. Coffee is great. Our Sherpa blankets are amazing. Jackets, hats. Our store is I have really thought about it. If we ever get big, and that's 3,000-4,000 listeners a night, and you got a couple million fans, I'm going to open up a Don't Unfriend Me store. I really am, because our stuff sells really well and people love it. So stop by and give it a chance. Liv, Donald Trump is the most pro-life president of our lifetime. I think he's the most pro-life president ever. What do you think about that statement? Yes or no?
I don't know enough about it to confirm or deny
Office,
that.
that's where we are
Let's
right
listen
now.
to this. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
Donald Trump addressing pro-life. And this is on the pro-abortion march, where people are, wearing the pink vagina hats and celebrating the murdering of children, babies. Listen to this.
Hello to everyone at the March for
This is the March for Life today. What I'm talking about is send this to all the people who celebrate the March for Death, is my point.
Life. It's a pleasure to speak to you from the beautiful Oval Office. That's where we are right now, the magnificent Oval Office. And thank you for turning out once again to show your extraordinary love and compassion for the unborn. Each year, Americans of every...
Hey, folks, get this out on Twitter if you could. My Twitter peeps, if you could send this. I want to get our numbers up a little bit. We're sitting at around 126, 130. It's not enough. Let's get some more people on here. Come on, Twitter.
Age, color, and background travel to our nation's capital by the tens of thousands to stand up for precious little babies who cannot stand up for themselves. I am proud to be the first president ever to have joined you in person. As you know, this annual march started 52 years ago on the first anniversary of the disastrous ruling known as Roe v. Wade. That unconstitutional decision took power away from the states and the voters, kicking off 50 years of division and anger. But thanks to your tireless work and devotion across 5 decades, that historic wrong was set right 3 years ago. I was so proud to be a participant. 6 courageous justices of the Supreme Court of the United States returned the issue to the state legislatures and to the people where it belongs. It became a vote of the people. In my second term, we will again stand proudly for families and for life. We will protect the historic gains we have made and stop the radical Democrat push for a federal right to unlimited abortion on demand up to the moment of birth and even after birth. Think of that, after birth. And some people want that. Can you believe it? We will work to offer a loving hand to new mothers and young families, and we will support adoption and foster care. We will protect women and vulnerable children. Under my leadership, a reformed Department of Justice will finally investigate the radical left attacks on churches and crisis pregnancy centers, and we will bring perpetrators to justice. We will get them to justice one way or the other. I will also end the weaponization of law enforcement against Americans of faith, and I'm releasing the Christians and pro-life activists who were persecuted by the Biden regime for praying and living out their faith. I just signed that document, and they're being released. One such American was Paula Harlow. At 75 years old, Paula was sentenced to 2 years in prison after praying outside of a clinic. That's why she was sentenced to 2 years. That's what happened under the Biden regime. In her sentencing, the judge mocked her Christian faith while her husband pleaded to be thrown in jail with his wife, fearing she would die alone behind bars. This week, it was my honor to grant a full and complete pardon to Paula and many others who were the victims of this horrific weaponization. Never again will religious persecution be allowed to happen in America. To all of the very special people marching today in this bitter cold, I know your hearts are warm and your spirits are strong because your mission is just very, very pure, to forge a society that welcomes and protects every child as a beautiful gift from the hand of our Creator. Thank you for never losing hope and never giving up. Thank you for your tremendous support. God bless you and God bless America.
Olivia, your thoughts?
Wow.
Yeah.
Proud that he's our president right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing to actually have a president that stands up.
Not afraid to apologize to
Not
anybody.
afraid to apologize, not afraid to say what's on his mind. And whatever happened to freedom of speech and freedom of religion? How in the world do people get arrested for praying in public?
Yes. Because you're making somebody who's about to go murder a child feel bad for murdering their child. Good. Maybe they should feel bad.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's hard. It's hard being a teenager. It's hard being a girl, upcoming woman in the world. And I understand that sometimes you got to make decisions that are really hard. But if these clinics aren't forced to educate about adoption and choices and parents' consent and help these children to take you have to have a 72-hour cool off to 10-day cool off to buy a firearm. Why should you not have a 72-hour to 10-day cool off to murder a child?
Exactly.
How about you tell them, listen, this is our first conversation. You're within the first, 16 weeks. There's exceptions, I understand. Medically necessary, rape, incest. I understand all these things. But let's see what we can do about taking all roads of options before we do this. And I think if most Republicans may not be accepting of abortion, but would be a lot more comfortable if it was a last resort like we were promised it was going to be. Now it's at a convenience, but there was a time when it was supposed to be absolutely a last resort, like a rarity. Well, after 67 million babies murdered, I think it's now become norm. And you can sit here and talk about it, but if we inputted those numbers into infanticide, we would be the worst country in the world when it comes to infant death. And I think we need to have a conversation about humility, civility, and compassion for life that is not our own. And I think that Trump is doing it right.
Yeah, I happen to agree. And using abortion as a convenient way for birth control, that is just horribly, horribly wrong.
Amy says, when Trump was going all in on helping Helene in California, how come nothing about Hawaii? Hawaii's on the path to recovery. I have not went in, but I did check on it a couple of weeks ago in regards to the property where everyone said that it was a money grab and smart cities, which was all bullshit. They passed legislation almost instantly. Governor did, and local and city councils passed legislation. And there were some companies that tried to come in and land grab, but everyone does. And they shot them down. But I think we're a little bit removed from that time, and not that it's not important, and not that he's not checking on those things. I think the biggest, most prominent issues right now are the California fires and the Hurricane Helene. And ultimately, there's no doubt in my mind that Trump and his cabinet will revisit Palestine, Ohio, and Hawaii, and any other place that suffered natural disasters or horrendous acts of God, which are not necessarily God, but you understand what I mean. A hurricane, a major fire, things like that. Things that are out of control of human means, minus the fire, which California could do a lot of things that they can't stop the fire, but they can make them a hell of a lot less severe. But that's my answer. And I don't know if it's the right one, but that's what I got. I don't understand. Do people not know there are consequences for actions? You are there illegally. What did you expect to happen? There is a video of a lady who's crying on TikTok.
Of course.
And
I was going to say something else on the whole
go
abortion
ahead.
thing.
Go.
I think that the whole sex education classes need to be redone. In my high school, it was a credit. You had to take the course in order to graduate. If you didn't take the course, you couldn't graduate. Therefore, your parents could not opt you out of it.
Right.
We, in our school district, can opt our children out of it. And I think it needs to be a mandatory course, and it needs to be redone for today's kids. It needs to be sex education, teaching them about it, and not focusing solely on abstinence, because these kids are not going to not have sex. It needs to teach them about safe sex, and it needs to teach them what abortions are. And this might be to the extreme, but I remember my sister, when Hayden was a baby, the body museum was in Albuquerque, and I took Leah for her birthday.
Remember this.
And they had an infant room. And if anyone doesn't know what the Bodies Museum is it's bodies that were donated to science, and they're real bodies, real skeletons, real bodies, real muscle. And they have the infant room. And in there, they have a fetus at every single stage, starting from 8 weeks up to 40. And these babies were miscarried or stillborn, and they were donated by their parents for science. And starting at 8 weeks, that is a baby. And it's got the formation of a baby. And at 12 weeks, that is a 100% human being. It's got fingers, it's got toes, it's got ears, it's got a nose, it's got everything. It's just this big. And if these kids can either go visit it, or there can be something that they have to watch to see this, to show them what is growing inside that woman's body, that what, if they choose to have that abortion, what they're actually killing. Because they've been taught that it's a clump of cells and it doesn't mean anything. They need to be taught what it actually is. And people might think it's harsh, but it's not. People, they need to see the reality of this.
Sure.
And these kids need to know, and they need to be taught. It's all about education.
I think for the first time since you've been doing the show, go get her. There you go. I disagree with you about making it mandatory. I think, and don't change your opinion. I want you to stand firm in your beliefs, but I don't think it's the school's job to teach our children about sex education. I think that starts at the house, and if parents approve of the continued learning and the continuation by these schools opening up and being transparent about what they're teaching our children, and it's not gender ideology and non-binary and endorsing transitioning and lesbianism and all that other bullshit, that's fine. And that can assist the parents for continuing education as long as they approve of the curriculum. But I do not believe in mandatory education for children. I completely, vehemently disagree. I understand that's your opinion, and that's fine. But I think we have, by entrusting these schools as much as we have, I think it's time we restrict and pull away the authority of the school systems and they start teaching what they're designed to, which is STEM. And anything extracurricular is at the behest of the parents and not the school boards. But that's the only thing I disagree with you on.
I get where you're coming from, but coming from how I grew up, in my house, sex was taboo. I was told the only reason you have sex is to have children. There's no other purpose to have sex, period. We couldn't watch movies that mentioned sex. We couldn't listen to songs that mentioned sex. We couldn't, if there was an artist like Madonna, that sex was how she sold her stuff, we couldn't listen to her. Sex was completely taboo. And if it wasn't for sex education, when I was a freshman and taking that class, I would have known nothing about birth control, condoms, STDs, nothing. I would have been 18-year-old out of the house with absolutely no knowledge of anything. And that's why I think it that way. And maybe it's not the public school system, but like in most states, and in Virginia, you have to have your permit for 9 months and you have to take a driver's education class that you have to pay for, and it's given by the DMV.
Right.
You actually have to take it. And if you don't, you can't get your license. So something needs to be done along the line. So maybe it's a course that is offered or something. I don't know.
How about you send out a questionnaire to the parents and say, have you had a conversation with your child about sexual reproduction and care? And if you, yes, no, or I do not wish to answer. And ask parents during the teacher meeting, and don't sit here and read me a laundry list of what my child is good at just to get to what they're bad at. How about we have a conversation about where they are in their development and their maturity level and how they can assist in adult-like conversations with the parent. And it's either yes, no, or get the hell away from my kid. See, to me, it takes a village. And when I was in school, the teachers were an integral part of the development of kids mentally, but also at the behest of the parents, things that they could partner on to make it easier at home. And one of the questions that teachers would always ask, how are things at home? And I think parents need to ask the question, how are things at school? A lot more. And teachers need to ask that question, how are things at home? She's doing great in math. She's doing great in reading. She's doing great in science. We've noticed a little drop off in her social skills. How are things at home? How is she feeling? Is there a level of, she participating? Is she doing extracurricular events? No, and she hasn't been eating, and she sleeps all day and everything else. And then the teacher would simply say, how can I help? What can I do here? I can offer some resources at school, or here's some ideas that we have. But it used to take a village. Now, it's the village idiot goes ahead and pulls all the kids into a hut and has a conversation with them privately and says, don't tell the tribal elders. That is not what I want. And I don't want teachers deciding what my children know and what they don't know. I want my teachers to teach my children how to learn, not necessarily what to learn.
Yeah, it's a hard thing because you've got families, parents like mine, the extreme, where sex is nothing. And to get an understanding is my sister at almost 18 had a boyfriend, and she was like 2 months from her 18th birthday, and they did the deed. She had birth control and condoms. My mom found them and freaked out. Like, my sister was so grounded, she had to be 2 feet away from my mom at all times and had to ask permission to use the bathroom. That's how much my mom freaked out for my sister being safe. And then you got the other extreme where some parents just don't care. And they're like, whatever, I don't care. I don't care if they know anything. I don't, whatever. I don't want to teach them. And so you've got these kids who know absolutely nothing because their parents won't say anything. And then kids who are exposed to everything but aren't taught how to be safe.
Yep.
And it's just, it's
Sandy Season
yes,
says,
it's hard.
do you, Matt, really believe these kids are going to learn this from their parents? Well, most parents just send their kids to school to learn there. Sad, but a lot of truth to that. Maybe an option for them to sign up for the extra class. I didn't say I'm against it. I just said you don't make it mandatory. Mandatory is too much authority for the schools. Do I think parents are going to educate their child on the birds and the bees? Mine did. We have.
Mine didn't.
Your mom did not tell you about sex.
No.
Okay. So that, to me, where'd you learn it?
Sex education
That's
when
right.
I was a freshman.
It was mandatory.
It was mandatory.
You had to take it.
I had to take it.
Okay. And why didn't your mom rebel?
Because I wouldn't be able to graduate, and we didn't have the means to get me to a private school or another school district.
So there's a situation that I understand completely. Here's my opinion. Do I think that every single parent will be a perfect parent? No, but that doesn't mean we should remove the rights for the parents because of that.
And I understand that. I totally get that.
That's like, just because it's same thing with guns. Well, Matt, do you think that there are people who won't do school shootings? No, I don't. I think there will be. Okay, so we should ban all guns. No. I don't think we should remove individual rights because there are parents who don't do their jobs as parents. That's what I'm saying, because that's the basis of our entire government. If we lose the individual rights in this country, then it's game over. So that's my point. We shouldn't make it mandatory. But I agree with you. It should be an option. And it is. We have a right to pull our children from certain types of classes, and we can remove it if we don't find it to be okay. And that's good, because I really don't want my child learning that they're a racist, white, fragile male who is just an abuser of women, and it's just a matter of time before they drop the N-bomb. I'm sorry, but I'm sick of that shit.
I get that.
Racism, sexism is taught. It's a learned behavior. It's demonstrated when you see it from your family. You see it in the school system when they constantly talk about it. You see it in movies. You see it in writings. So my opinion is this, is that we've gone too far from having the schools have absolutely no influence on children when they see things that are harmful to kids, which is why CPS was created, which was why counselors were created and guidance counselors and psychological counselors available for drug addiction and drug abuse and alcoholism. And so we empowered these schools to have all of these ins into the family, and we've gone too far. And it's time to pull back the autonomous nature of schools and start bringing the families back into having some authority. I think we should be able to audit classes. I think we should be able to sit in the back of the class if we want to once a quarter and audit our children's learning. I think we should be able to go in the library and look at what books are being displayed there. I think we should maybe get a copy of the curricula before it is actually disseminated to the children. These are things that I truly believe every parent should be involved in. But that doesn't mean that I think that schools shouldn't be involved in sex education. I think it needs to be done at a certain age with parents' approval, and there needs to be a balancing in information that's translated between the parents and the teachers so they are on the same fucking page.
I totally get that. I guess on another,
It's a good question, by the way.
Very. I was just thinking about this. Then I remember when I was pregnant with Hayden, and we went to tour the hospital that we were gonna birth in, and I remember one of the nurses I was talking to and talking. I remember I was always like, "Are you gonna have babies or grandbabies?" and blah 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 blah. And I remember the nurse I was talking to. Her daughter was 29, and her daughter was adamant she was never going to have children. The reason why is she used to volunteer in a birthing unit in a hospital, and she helped deliver many, many babies, and she never wanted to go through that. So maybe at abortion clinics, it should be mandatory that those women have to watch a video of an abortion and see what actually happens to that
I don't
baby.
want to traumatize children. I just want them to offer them the options, right? Because you go into an abortion clinic and it's like, what are my solutions? You either have the baby or you don't. And they make it sound like any other option is such a heavy lift, but they don't talk about the traumatic nature and the mental trauma that comes along with abortion. I've never met any woman coming out of an abortion clinic, and I've had friends who've had abortions. I've had girlfriends who've had abortions. Come out and be like, yeah, woohoo, that was awesome. Never, not once. That was too loud. I've never had anybody that I've ever seen come out of that. It's usually melancholy, in pain, and there's trauma that comes along with that. So I just think we have to do a better job of helping young ladies understand the moral, physical, and mental trauma and dilemma that comes with abortion. That's all I'm saying. Just offer the options. Talk about adoption. It's an important thing. Because the thing also I know is that most women who have an adoption focus on adoption versus abortion. And this isn't a scientific poll, so I don't know. But just anecdotally, a lot of them don't want to give the child up once they meet their own child. Once you connect with that child and put that child in your arms, there is something so beautiful and special about that. And I think women have a choice to make with their doctor, but let's give them all the information that they can possibly muster, because that child's life is absolutely important. I'm gonna move on. We got a lot to do, folks. We're at 276.23. We always like to overdrive. We need a little bit of extra and extraordinary tonight. These are our slowest months: January, February, March. And although we try to keep it as close to skimming the top of just taking care of the streaming and the cost of the show, that all the equipment, all the software, everything else, and the time of the host, we tend to be very conservative in our goal. So if anyone is still out there, let's not stop at the show goal. Let's just know that that's a kind of a milestone where we say, hey, this is kind of what we have to hit. We always like to overdrive. So if you're out there and you haven't had a chance to donate, it is the top of the last hour of the show, and I always go ahead and talk about it. We'll be right back. I'm going to show you another video. Go to thedumshow.com/donate to help the show with PayPal, Venmo, or mail.
Join wimkin.com, the social media platform built for free speech and true connection. No censorship, no algorithms controlling your feed, just genuine conversations and a commitment to protecting your rights. Sign up today at wimkin.com and take back your voice. Tell them Matt and the Dumb Show sent you.
I appreciate it. It's a good conversation, and I think that's first time you and I haven't seen necessarily eye to eye on something, but parenting we always do. And I think it's a good thing. And also thanks for the guests who had some comments. Tough conversation to have, but one that's easy with a crew like this, because we always seem to be amicable.
And it just shows that you can be married and still have different opinions on stuff.
No, that's a lie. So here is a lady who is crying about illegal immigrants and deportations. And you know what? I'm trying to balance out the show a little bit and bring some perspective. So let's listen to it. Let's not try to make fun, because I don't think we're going to, but let's listen anyway.
How are you guys not scared for your friends that are undocumented? For your
Illegal. Not undocumented. Illegal.
parents, for your siblings, for your family? Does that not bother you? How? Just tell me how. How could you walk up there and vote for him after everything he said he was going to do? You think just because you were born here, you're not gonna go through it? He doesn't like you. When are you gonna understand that? Oh my God. Like, it's so scary. It's so scary to know that just at any given moment, you can just be separated from your family. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. Because it's the law. Or even you. You can go too. Who knows?
Your thoughts.
My
Hold on one
thoughts.
second. I told her nice 3 times.
Children.
Go ahead, Liv.
My thoughts. I feel bad for her that she's upset about this, but maybe they shouldn't have broken the law. Don't come over here illegally. I'm not a horrible person. I have emotions, I have empathy, and I have sympathy. But if you're gonna break the law, there are consequences. And most people know that and have been taught since they were yay high that if you do something wrong, there's a consequence for it.
Yep.
You jump the border and do it illegally and stay in this country illegally and live off the taxpayer and live off the government when you're not putting anything back into it, then you need to go. You broke the law. Your consequence is you must go back to your home country. And if you want to come back to the life you built in America, then apply and do it legally and become a legalized citizen. I have absolutely no sympathy for illegal aliens. And you know what? I've known several of them, and I'm friends with some. Our landscaper back in Texas, our landscaper back in California, our landscaper in Albuquerque,
Nanny.
our
Yeah.
housekeeper.
Not nanny, housekeeper.
Our
Yeah.
housekeeper that we had many conversations with, and we gave baby stuff to because she got pregnant again. She was amazing. I'm sorry, you shouldn't have come here illegally.
And once we were found out that they were illegal, we no longer employed them. That's not what Olivia is saying is not true. Once we found out that they were here illegally, but I won't say her name, but she was not illegal. She came here and she was married to an American citizen, so she wasn't illegal. One landscaper was, but our landscaper now is ex-military, so we didn't hire illegals. That's not true. Sorry. They were at one time, but then were Americanized through the process. Just to be clear.
I just come here legally.
That's it.
That's it. You're gonna break the law. There's consequences. I'm sorry, but come here. I have no problem coming here legally. And immigrants do it legally.
It comes down to this. You don't have to watch them be deported. Go with them. Your family should stay together. And you should go and get this worked out, and the family unit would be stronger together. But you came here and you started off breaking the law. So you have to undo what you did, and then we can have a conversation. But like Olivia said, I think, can you imagine crossing into Iran and being accepted by the Iranian people?
No.
Could you cross into Canada and live off Canada without expecting some sort of repercussions if you were found to be working there and were illegal? Now, do you get deported? Whatever. These are, I don't know. I don't know Canadian law, and I don't care. My point is that you can go nowhere in the United States, or you can go everywhere in the United States, and you're an American if you're born here. When you go to England, you don't become English. When you go to Russia, you don't become Russian. When you go to South America, you don't become South American. There's no place else in the world where you go and you become a citizen of that country and are considered a citizen. If you're in Russian, you're an American who's living in Russia. And even if you apply for Russian citizenship, you will always be known as an American who lives in Russia. Here, it doesn't matter if you're Mexican, doesn't matter if you're from Africa, doesn't matter if you're from Hong Kong, you are always an American. That is earned.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, right now they're focusing on the violent, the gangs, the ones who've had criminal records
Right.
and shit. That's what they're focusing
That's
on.
what they're
They're
focusing on.
they're not looking for the 76-year-old granny who
Yet.
came over here
Yet.
20 years.
Yet, Livia, yet. Well,
But that's not what they're focusing on. And if I don't know because I'm not sure, but aren't they gonna after that? It's the people who've been here for the last 4 years.
No,
is what they're gonna
it
look
comes
at.
down to this: is they're trying to end birthright citizenship because there is a clause in the Constitution that circumvents, and it sounds like executive powers states that, and I can read it to you, but I don't want to get into this whole conversation tonight. But I think it actually stands up in the Constitution that the President of the United States has unequivocal powers for the border. That is their number one job, is to protect the borders of the United States of America. That is the president's number one job. And he has those reserved and enumerated powers to make decisions to protect the United States. So if birthright citizenship is not something that is manageable by the President of the United States, you are literally handicapping and hamstringing the president from doing their number one order, which is to protect the borders of the United States of America. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I believe that Donald Trump is well within his right. Now, a lot of people say it might be unconstitutional. I don't think the Supreme Court disagrees with this. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Love you guys. Thank you, JD. You are the best. Thank you, brother. So that's a whole other conversation. But we'll find out. At this point, Donald Trump's job is to protect the United States and protect our border. We will not find a way to do that unless we can cut off all types of immigration that is not through visa, work, education, and legal immigration into this country. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
End of story.
Honestly, it should piss off any American because our taxes are being raised to support the illegals that have jumped the border. We're paying for them.
Right.
Our healthcare sucks because they get free healthcare. How much are you paying for in insurance? I mean, it's so expensive. The reason why? We're paying for their healthcare. And
I don't. That's a little excessive, Libby.
Well, I mean, in the hospitals.
Illegals aren't driving up the cost of healthcare per se because they still have to pay for it. What is driving up is our taxes because they will go in there and they will get subsidies and handouts from the government, which ultimately is taken out of our pocketbook. So I just want to make sure we understand driving up the cost of healthcare is overall greed.
Yeah.
And a lack of tri-state insurance and group-based insurance. And we need to overhaul the insurance program in this country. But the high costs are truly, it takes a lot of money to invent this stuff. It takes a lot of money to innovate this stuff. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, an MRI machine, how much did that take to create? $150 billion. So, you know, you can only have so many of those things, and it costs money. And an old X-ray that you would get, you know, when I was a kid would be, you know, $350, $500, depending upon it. Now you can get an X-ray for $25. So technology, you're right. I understand. Taxes, we take it in the ass for illegals for sure. But we also take it on the ass for the people who are sitting there collecting money for having kids. So you're right. Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah. I mean, also that the fact that the illegals are treated better than veterans.
That's right.
And our veterans are not being taken care of. The veterans are the reason we have a free country. They're helping to make it free and keep it free.
Right.
And they're illegals who weren't born here, who came over here illegally, have only been here a short period of time, are getting treated better than our veterans.
For sure.
And that is completely wrong.
You've seen the shirt, Veterans Before Illegals. It's one of my favorite shirts that we have on the Don't Unfriend Me show. Go to thedumbshow.com, Veterans Before Illegals. I'm with you. You're not going to you're right about that. I just want to make sure we understood that the cost of healthcare is expensive.
I wasn't meaning insurance.
I know.
I was meaning more along the lines of healthcare as far as the hospitals. Because the hospitals have to recoup that cost somewhere treating illegals.
They get it from the government. Those taxes ultimately become tax breaks. They become hospital safe havens. They become shell accounts where the government will, like California subsidizes the hospitals for treating illegals. They did the same thing with COVID, honey. They gave them, I'm sure you know this, if they diagnosed COVID at hospital, it was an immediate $10,000 stipend to the hospital. if they classified and admitted somebody into the through the ER or into intensive care, it was a $25,000 stipend. And if they had a person who died with COVID, it was anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 that the government gave the hospitals to treat because of the infectious disease, because of the risk and everything else, and the extra PPE and staff and all that the hospitals had to do. So the government incentivized them to diagnose with COVID.
That's why so many people got diagnosed with COVID.
Right.
And
So
came in on a motorcycle accident, but died of COVID.
Right. So to say that the United States government doesn't subsidize hospitals with taxpayer dollars is insane because they did it to our credit cards. I mean, people had all of a sudden nobody made a house payment for like 16 months. There were people who did it. Where did that money come from? It's your taxes. They subsidized people's credit cards. They subsidized our house payment for almost a year. We didn't even ask them to negate the Chase card. We didn't ask for that. And all of a sudden, your balance is at zero. How? Who paid for that? American people paid for it. So I'm not trying to be argumentative. What I'm saying is hospitals are subsidized through taxpayer dollars to take care of illegal immigrants. That does not make it right. I don't agree with it. But the reason why an aspirin is $27 at a hospital is because of greed. And we can sit here and pretend it's not, but it is. It's because there are people who come into the hospital who have a broken arm and it costs them $75 to fix. But the doctor is making $500. Are you listening to me?
Yes, I am.
The doctor is making $500 an hour. The nurse practitioner is making $125 an hour. The lights and the overall room and board and rent is, $1.6 million a month. And that person who breaks their arm isn't going to go ahead. You're going to have 1,000 of those that cost the hospital money and only have one brain surgery that subsidizes 75% of those. So the hospital makes its money off a $27 aspirin. It makes itself on a $150 gown. It makes itself off of $1,500 one-day stays. This is why the hospital's fucked. Because the hospital doesn't have like a pro bono system to have a community center that is free of charge for broken arms or burns or the sniffles. And people come into the ER because their family practitioners close after hours, but they need to get some help because it got 103-degree temperature. So they go to the ER and they use the hospital for something that's designed for a family practitioner or an urgent care center.
Yep.
So this whole system is fucking broke.
Yes.
It's been broke for a long time, but that's where the costs are.
Got it. I need to take a quick break. Sorry.
Go take a quick break. $20. Thank you. Says Dumb Show. $20 from Joanne. Joanne, Liv, I have a video I have to show you, so you have to hurry. Okay, Olivia's going to go blow her nose and go potty. So this is a good time to take a quick 15-second sound check.
The DUM store is veteran-owned with a 5-star diamond rating for service and satisfaction. We offer quality products like coffee, shirts, hoodies, and hats, all made by veterans. Shop with confidence, backed by hundreds of 5-star reviews. Use code DUM10 to save 10%. Visit thedumshow.com today. Thank you for your support.
Yeah. So I'm not defending the hospitals. I'm not defending the doctors. I'm just telling you the truth of the whole thing. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't think about those things.
Your trip to the West Coast where he confronted L.A. Mayor Karen Bass.
What, they don't have the vote on Fox? What the shite? All right, I got to find C-SPAN. What's it on? I know, Melanie. I can't even imagine for your cancer treatment and the people who are going through that. Unbelievable. What channel is it on, y'all? I'm watching Fox. It's not on. There it is.
I know because I've been talking to a lot of people all day. A lot of drama behind the scenes.
There it is.
I have it on pretty good authority. It looks like that Pete will lose Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell but J.D. Vance will cast the deciding vote.
That's what I thought. That's great.
Yeah, I just talked to a Republican senator who indicated to me that they thought that J.D. Vance was going to have to break this tie. He just arrived at the Capitol a little bit ago. Again, we don't know definitively about Mitch McConnell. We've known for a couple of days about Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski as being no votes here. And as I always say, it is about the math. So if you lose 3, you get to 50-50. There are 53 Republicans in the Senate. And I hollered to Chuck Schumer.
Folks, do me a favor if you've not had a chance. If you could donate to thedumshow.com/donate. We're in extra hours after hours. Friday night, we're spending it with you because we got a vote for Pete Hegseth, and then I got a couple other things to cover. Then Olivia and I are going to go make sweet love by the fire until we moan and perspire.
Ethan wants to finish Interstellar.
Never mind. We're going to watch the rest of Interstellar and have no sex. Thanks a lot. You wanted to have kids, I remind you. But we're going to cover this. If you have not had a chance, go to thedumshow.com/donate. We always love to overdrive. Love to have a great big night. Here we go.
Tom Tillis, the Republican senator from North Carolina. He had indicated yesterday he still had some questions. He's not been to the Capitol yet this evening, but that's the one other senator that could, and I'll underscore that, could be in play. So they just started this vote precisely at 8:57 tonight. You might ask why 8:57? Under the Senate rules, once they broke that filibuster, you get 30 hours of debate if they use all the time. So that 30-hour meridian, it started at 2:57 yesterday afternoon. And so unless they yielded back the time, this vote was going to be tonight. Now, they kind of keep the time on the field on a Senate vote. They usually allot 15 minutes. Most votes take 30 minutes to an hour, maybe 45 minutes if they're moving, simply because a late night vote, a lot of people aren't at the Capitol. They've been at dinner, they've been back home. We might get a sense early on how the vote is going and be able to divine whether or not he has the votes to actually be confirmed. That's something that we're going to be waiting on here. But this vote is hot right now. The other thing to look for is once they finish that roll call vote is whether or not they have a cloture vote, a procedural vote to break the filibuster on the nomination of Kristi Noem to be the Homeland Security Secretary. That is next automatically in the queue. And if they were to go on to that, that'll happen tonight, then they would get another 30 hours. So she probably wouldn't be confirmed unless they gave back the time until early Sunday morning. I did have a couple of conversations with senators and other sources here who thought maybe they could get through that and move to that vote later on tonight. But that vote is on right now. Again, we'll see how long this takes. It's very rare to have a nominee come to the Capitol, as Pete Hegseth did earlier tonight with his family, to watch this confirmation vote. In fact, I can't remember in all the years I've covered Congress to see that happen. We asked him, hollered down the hall at him, whether or not he was talking to any senators who might be, kind of waffling on this. He did not respond. At one point, he did give a thumbs up, so that's in play there. We don't know. Again, everybody seems to be saying, yes, we think that we're going to have the votes. The other thing that I would look for here is also, let's say it is a tie, or let's say that he doesn't have the votes, and John Thune, the Republican leader, if it's obvious this is going down, what he would do is switch his vote. Sometimes you see that happen in the Senate, because if the vote goes down, it's not that Senator Thune opposes the nominee, Pete Hegseth, but what he has to do, he has to be on the prevailing side of the vote, so then he could order a revote. If they think they need to talk to somebody, so on and so forth, maybe they could get their vote in the next couple of days. The other thing that I would note here is that if Vance does break this tie, that's only happened once before. It was February 7th of 2017. When Betsy DeVos, the education secretary, there was a tie vote. Again, you had Murkowski and Collins, who were no's on that vote as well. And they voted, and so they needed to bring Vice President Pence to Capitol Hill to confirm her. And let me just check my phone here for a second. I'm getting a lot
Matt
of
told me to take care of the show,
messages here. I'm told that Susan Collins, the Republican from Maine, has already voted no. And Mitch McConnell, when he was coming into the Capitol, he asked how he would vote, and he just kind of raised his eyebrows. We have not had votes yet from McConnell on the floor, Murkowski, or Tom Tillis, who I mentioned was in play as well. So Collins is the only no vote on the Republican side of the aisle on the board right now. But this is very organic. Senate votes, they vote orally. It's not an electronic system like they have in the House of Representatives. You might be seeing the senators come down to the well, and they either give give thumbs up or thumbs down. Sometimes they just stick their head in the door and holler from the back of the chamber. And you see the gentlelady in the pink and the white hair to the left with the big, long scroll right there. She is orally calling the names and going down and checking off how people are voting as they go down the list. I've just been told that Lisa Murkowski voted no. So that's 2 no votes from the GOP side of the aisle right now in real time against Pete Hegseth. You just saw Senator also Brooks come up and vote there, Democrat from Maryland, a freshman. She's she's against Pete Hegseth. So again, most Democrats, all Democrats were expecting them to vote no tonight. But that's kind of where we stand. But this vote is on the edge as we stand right now.
50 plus 1 is the vote, folks.
All right, Chad,
it's a majority vote.
Stay right there. We're going to come back to you in just a moment. We appreciate you being with us. Joining us now is the host of Special Report. Our own Brett Baer is with us. Brett, I've been following this all day. We knew about Lisa Murkowski. We knew about Susan Collins. That is not a surprise. The other 2 votes to watch would be Mitch McConnell and Tom Tillis in North Carolina, but my understanding is he has now moved into the yes column. We will find out shortly. Mitch McConnell only apparently telling 1 or 2 people. I had called into his office today to see if I can get any indication at all which way he was leaning. If I had to bet, I'd say no. I'd say Tom Tillis. If I had to bet, I'd say yes, but we'll find out very shortly here.
We will. And, Sean, good evening. It was interesting to see President Trump as he was leaving the White House today on the South Lawn heading to Marine One. He himself raised questions about Mitch McConnell's vote. He was asked about Pete Hegseth's chances. He said that the 2, Murkowski and Collins, were expected. He said it was disappointing to him. But he said, what about Mitch? What about Mitch? And he asked the reporters there covering, what is Mitch doing? And I think that there is a sense that the former Senate Majority Leader may vote no tonight on Pete Hegseth, which would bring that to 3 no votes. And the biggest question then is Tom Tillis from North Carolina. Senator Tillis put out a very glowing statement about President Trump's trip to North Carolina and the affected areas in Asheville today, saying how much it meant to him personally.
Great, show
and to those people surviving Hurricane Helene and the devastation still after all of these weeks. That's not an indication of how he's going to vote on Pete Hegseth, but it is something that came out today. As Chad mentioned, it's really rare for the nominee himself to be up on Capitol Hill, to bring his family to Capitol Hill. And he was standing or holding in what's called the Strom Thurmond room in the Capitol area.
The fact that we have a Strom Thurmond room makes me sick.
During that time, but he did, as Chad mentioned, give reporters a thumbs up. So we are now waiting for these key votes: McConnell, Tillis, and then Vice President Vance would break a tie if it's 3 Republican no votes.
Yeah. Brett, if I may, I just got confirmation from another U.S. Senator that did talk to Tom Tillis. In fact, he is expected to be a yes. So it really won't matter what Mitch McConnell ends up doing in this vote. I kind of expected that he would lean towards no. If that's the case, then J.D. Vance will be the tie-breaking vote, and Pete Hegseth will be the Secretary of Defense. Obviously, we're watching the numbers on the side of our screen, 37-30. If that is the case, that is a big win for Donald Trump.
Anyone who votes no, I would do a vote of no confidence on them, and I would essentially remove their Republican status.
Breathes, sleeps,
kick him out of the party.
Yeah.
And we're at a time where I believe the country has a gap.
Kick him out of the fucking party.
We're behind on hypersonic.
Mitch hasn't been a Republican in a long time.
No, Murkowski never has, neither has Collins. Just kick him out. Just remove him. Who cares?
Eliminate DEI in the military.
We've got the split vote. We got J.D. Vance.
They got a lot of work there.
They do. And, I covered the Pentagon for 4.5, 5 years. That building, there's a lot of great people inside, but there's a lot of institutional bureaucracy that I think President Trump talked about on the campaign trail of shaking things up. which is why, obviously, he chose Pete. Arguably, both sides of the aisle said that he was impressive in his confirmation hearing. Obviously, Republicans more so than Democrats, but even some Democrats I talked to said they were impressed with how he handled himself. They went down different roads on questions, obviously. He's denied all of those accusations, and I texted with him this week, and he had, kind of an optimism about the moment. He thought he was there. So we'll see these votes in a matter of minutes. If it is a tie and Vice President Vance breaks the tie, this is moving forward. And the question is, how long will Democrats position this confirmation to stretch out the third?
Folks, just FYI, we are an overtime tonight, bringing you Fox News Live on the Pete Hegseth vote for Secretary of Defense. You can donate at thedumshow.com/donate. Keeps the show going, keeps it free. Weeknights, 7 o'clock. We are on 2 to 3 hours, 5 nights a week, and we really appreciate your help. We were defunded by Facebook. They took $15,000 a month from us. We never asked for donations, but the last 10 months, you have kept us going, and we appreciate you more than you possibly know. We've hit our goal for tonight, but we always appreciate overdriving our goal, especially during overtime on this Friday night, so we can go into a good weekend and bring it back to you on Monday at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much. Here is the rest.
A little bit too tired, and there may not be enough coffee, cappuccino, espresso available for them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely Senator Thune's plan if it continues to drag on like that. And then the long shot is this recess appointment thing. It would take a lot of different maneuvers logistically for the House and Senate to actually
Pam
adjourn,
Bondi
or
was
the
not
president to
confirmed.
adjourn
Pam
the
Bondi
two,
was delayed. Senate can actually go ahead and only one person is needed to do this, and can just delay it for 10 days. They also have been filibustering candidates 30 hours. They go ahead and do a cloture vote to end the filibuster. These are all just tactics.
Brett, if I can, I just got word that Tom Tillis voted yes.
Yes, there it is.
That all but pretty much assures that
yes.
J.D. Vance, at a minimum, will be the tie-breaking vote, and he will be the Secretary of Defense. That is a big win for Donald Trump.
Huge,
and obviously a big win for Pete Hegseth. In what was a big battle on Capitol Hill. So it looks like he will be the next defense secretary.
Barring some real strange vote
some
that we can't even see
decides
coming,
to stray.
This is going to be 3 Republican no's, and Vice President Vance will break the tie.
Just need 50.
Senator Tillis just put out a statement, Sean, in which he said, from the beginning, I've been clear about my position. If his nominees were reported favorably out of relevant committees, I would support their confirmation on the Senate floor. He went on to say, Pete has a unique perspective as a veteran of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and is unquestionably passionate about modernizing our military, supporting the brave patriots like himself who serve our nation. So not only a yes,
for the person
but
that just gave us a down vote,
support of Pete Hegseth.
Every time.
You made a mistake. Hit that up vote. We know you didn't mean to. Thanks.
Had on Capitol Hill, and whatever questions, issues existed, my understanding is that there was a direct conversation between Senator Tillis and with Pete Hegseth, and that they came to a meeting of the minds, and that just happened fairly recently. So obviously now we are showing.
No, Paul, if you remove them from the Republican Party, they go to an NP status. More than likely, they would become independent and not become Democrats. They very well could, but it wouldn't give them the majority. We're +3 right now with the tie-breaking vote, so it would make it a 50-50 split Senate. But we have the tiebreaker. We're not going to win. We're not going to win the filibuster anyway with a 60-40 majority. So there it is. Here we go. Here's the rest.
Friend and colleague Pete Hegseth, what's your reaction to the vote today?
Sean, I'm telling you, Pete set the bar high for candidates on how you go and win votes. He was working all the way up to literally the last hour. I was with him just a second ago. He was still on the phone. You're right. Him and Tillis did have a good meeting today. And I'm telling you, Pete and Jenny, they're a power couple. The way they attacked the media, the way that the media came after them, and they just faced it front on. They took the shots over the head, and they never blinked. They never stepped back. They just continued moving forward. Pete earned this vote today because of his ability to go into the fire and win the fight. I have been so impressed.
Folks, if you have not had a chance, do us a favor, especially on Rumble. The one thing we see on Rumble all the time, which is crazy, is we have hundreds and hundreds of people who watch it, but how many like it? We get like maybe 20 likes a night. Do me a favor, just take a second and Rumble and just hit the like button on the outside of the video, and it helps boost it.
It's a thumbs up in the video.
Whatever, just hit like.
Thumbs up in the video.
Hit the thumbs up in the video, please. That helps. And once you come in, just hit that. And when you do, it gets shared, and we get more viewers on Rumble. We're now showing more people showing up on Rumble than ever before, and we want to continue to grow. So please do us that favor. And also go over to wimkin.com and sign up. Thanks so much.
Answering them, he has a unique perspective as a veteran of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and is unquestionably
5 more votes needed.
Passionate about modernizing our military and supporting the brave patriots like myself who serve our nation. I will support his confirmation. Look forward to working with him to rebuild our military and advance Donald Trump's peace through strength agenda. You know what? I've got to give a lot of credit to any senator, taking advising consent as a serious matter is something that I think that every elected official should do. And some people, get angry if senators ask extra questions or want more information. To me, they're doing their job.
Sean, what Tom is very thorough, and I'm telling you, his word is gold. If he tells you where he's at, he's going to be there. At the same time, he's going to do his job, and he's not going to pull back punches. What he appreciated about Pete was exactly what President Trump appreciates about him too. He's not afraid of the fight, and he's not afraid of taking on tough issues. Pete sat there and would take the questions, and he didn't dodge them. He didn't hide from them. He addressed every single one of them, and that's why he was able to win the votes over. Now, we knew we were walking into a situation where we may lose 3 people, and we started there. We started there thinking that we're going to have 50-50 on this vote, and then Senator J.D. Vance is going to be able to cast the deciding vote on this one.
46,
That's exactly
magic
where we
number
started.
is 4.
It was exactly where we ended up. But we did it because Pete and Jenny walked the halls here daily and was willing to take those meetings nonstop. And there's so much credit due to them. Even though the Senate did do our Article 2, Section 2 advising and consent process, it was because Pete was able to keep the no's off the board and keep the yeses where they were at.
I guess the one person that maybe I have questions about would be Mitch McConnell, only because Mitch, his successor, John Thune, he knows how hard that job is. He also knows that Pete is very pro-military.
Thank you, Bobby.
I don't think it would have been hard for
Love
Mitch
you all.
to
We
move
love
to
you
the
too,
yes
Bobby.
column,
Thanks so much.
But that did not seem to factor into his thinking at all, and he kept it very tight to the vest all day. And I think that's a little disappointing. I think John Thune was very loyal to him, and you would think he would want to help out the new majority leader get off on the right foot. It's going to happen anyway, but he could have helped him.
I never had a conversation with Mitch through this process. I did talk to Susan. I did talk to Lisa.
McConnell's a scumbag.
I obviously had a lot of conversations with Tillis and a lot of my other colleagues, and they were all very productive conversations. But I can't really speak on Mitch's thinking because you're right, he does hold everything very close. But I truly, Sean, never had a conversation with him through the whole process. I kind of left that to Leader Thune. And you can see there's a total different leadership style in the Senate between Mitch McConnell and Leader Thune.
Yeah, I agree. There was a tough moment in the confirmation process where you really took on your Democratic colleagues asking, oh, are you all perfect? Oh, none of you had a drink? And then all of these images started to emerge of U.S. senators having alcohol in the halls of Congress, which I thought was pretty funny.
Well, if the Democrats are going to hold themselves up at a moral standard or hold these nominees at a moral standard, then the body better be holding ourselves up to that same moral standard. And we've all seen it. And I'm not saying I'm the one to set the moral standard. That's not me. That may be James Lankford, but I'm not that guy. At the same time, if we're going if we're going to do that, then we better be holding ourselves up to a higher standard as well. And the body's not going to do that. So it was very hypocritical for people like Tim Kaine to go out there and be demanding that if he has a drink, he's going to resign, and to be talking about his past life before he ran for SecDef. I believe very, very high that if we're going to set a standard, then we should live that standard.
Yeah. All right. We really appreciate your time, Senator. Thank you. As you can see, it's almost official.
Sean, thank you.
48-47, 48 yes, 47 no. Here with more, Fox Business host Brian Brenberg and former Senator Scott Brown and Outkick founder Clay Travis.
Thank
Senator
you, Glenn.
Brown, great to have you. You know how tight these
For
votes can
the
be.
overtime.
Walk us through the process behind the scenes.
Well, there's a lot of people, saying do this, do that. But John's in control. I saw the interview that you did with him. He's definitely in control. I was a little surprised with Mitch. Obviously, with Susan and Lisa, I expected that.
Problem with the program.
As you know, it's 50% plus one. It doesn't matter how you get there. Pete's a change maker. President Trump deserves Pete and anyone else that he wants around him. And I'll tell you what, the delegation here in New Hampshire and all the Democrats who are being obstructionists, I mean, it's going to get old very, very quickly.
Hold on, Fetterman.
Very, very quickly, because
Fetterman
they should be
said
doing
no.
this,
Fucking
immediately,
Fetterman.
as they did for Joe Biden and as they've done with other presidents, where we've basically said, okay, listen, you got the time, you got the votes.
Never
let's just get
forget,
it done.
Democrats are
And
always
I
going to
hope
be
John
Democrats.
keeps them there for every single day until this is done.
Mr. Moran, aye.
Yeah. Let me go to Brian Brenberg. Brian, you've known Pete for a long time. You've been a very close friend of his. And it's hard to watch
Hannity,
people that you
shut
know,
up and
love,
play
care
this.
about, and know their true character about,
God, he needs to
and
retire.
watch them go
So
through a
sick
very
of him.
painful process. When this
Hannity.
first got announced, I called Pete and I told him exactly how this would turn out. I wish I was wrong. I said, you're probably starting out with no on Susan, no on Lisa,
There
no
it
on
is.
Mitch.
It's over.
I said, if you lose one more,
It's over.
that
That's
means
it.
you're not going
He
to
got
get
it.
it. And by the way, it is now official. Pete Hegseth
There he
will
is.
be the next Secretary of Defense.
Amen.
J.D. Vance will cast the deciding vote. Let's listen in on the Senate floor, Brian, before we get to you.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, apparently there's nothing to listen to. So let's go back to Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Now, look, Sean, this is amazing. Pete has been a friend of mine for almost 4 decades. Okay, I knew the kid.
Mrs.
I knew him in
Shaheen.
second grade trading baseball cards. I've been a colleague at Fox with him. And this has been a tough process to go through, obviously. But Senator Mullen got it exactly right. And it's actually been the greatest part of the process. Pete outworked everybody. He outworked his detractors. He outworked the people who were on the sidelines. He outworked anybody who wanted to come at him about his character or his ability to lead. And he said, I'll talk to you. Let me make my case. Let me show you what I'm about. And to me, Sean, that is the most encouraging thing I have seen through any part of this confirmation process. He sat there in front of all of those senators in the Armed Services Committee, and he listened to what they said, and he responded to them, and he showed the American people what he's about, Sean. And I knew he would do that, and I knew when he did that, the American people would have more confidence in him. And so I love, actually,
I cannot
though I
wait
don't wish on
tomorrow for
anybody in their
all the
personal
Dems
life,
to talk about, thank you, Kev, all the Dems to cry about how we need to get rid of the filibuster. Because now they're not going to say that, right? They're going to say, oh, we no one's going to say the filibuster needs to go away. They're going to complain about the +1 vote. They're going to say that these nominations need to be a 2/3 majority. Fuck them. They wanted the filibuster gone for the Republicans, and now they want it to stay, and I can't wait for them all to cry. Our government, it sucks, and electoral college needs to go away, and the filibuster needs to be for every vote. Yeah, screw you, jerk-offs.
Vice President, he will be the tie-breaking vote. Clay Travis, when I watch people like Pete, or you can take it back to Bork or Clarence Thomas or Justice Kavanaugh, and they just want to rake these guys over the coals, it makes me think this is why good people don't want to serve their government. Who wants to go through that process?
Yeah, first, you're exactly right, Sean, and congrats to Pete and his family who got raked over the absolute coals to get it here. Second, this is why your Senate vote is so important. Hey, how about Pennsylvania? Dave McCormick wins in Pennsylvania by what, 15,000 votes or so? That's the difference between Pete Hegseth getting across the finish line or not. 3, huge win for Donald Trump and everybody else in line here, because if you knock one guy or gal out, the next man or woman up is the next target. Right now, you keep the momentum rolling. And let me just take a moment. I am ecstatic for Pete and his family, for the country, for Trump, for everybody who voted for him. Let me say this. Alaska voted for Donald Trump by 13 points, Sean, and Lisa Murkowski can't back Donald Trump and his pick for defense secretary. Shame on her. Everybody listening who voted for Trump in Alaska should be trying to kick her out of office. Same thing. I know Mitch McConnell's probably going to step down. Trump won Kentucky by 31 points. I understand why someone like Lisa Collins, her state went for Kamala by 7 points, might not be able to support every element of the Trump agenda. But if you're in Alaska right now and you're in Kentucky right now, your senators are defying the will of you. You should be outraged.
Janet, the filibuster is designed to ensure that the minority party has an opportunity to be heard. The filibuster is really two things. It used to be the day that they would, like they did now, for 30 hours, they would essentially debate and they would create conversation on the floor, and each senator would get a certain time period. Now, it used to be the filibuster was uncapped, and as long as you could stand up there, there's certain rules. You can't sit down while you're talking. You can't lean on the podium. You can't get water. You can't stop talking. And you can't go to the bathroom or anything else. And if you do those things, your time is up, and then somebody else comes in. And they would go on for a long time. I think the longest filibuster was, I don't know if I'm right on this, but I think it was like 72 days.
Let me look.
Yeah, take a look at the longest filibuster. And so it is like it sounds. But really what the filibuster is that there are certain votes and there are certain propositions that can't move forward unless they have a 60-40 split or a 2/3 majority split of the House. And it is a 60-40 is what it works. It's not even a 2/3 majority. It's a 60 vote count, which means in this case with 53 senators and 47 Democrats, 53 Republicans, you would need, in order to pass that, you would need an additional 7 votes to go ahead and come across the aisle to go ahead and push a piece of legislation through. This is the filibuster, and it is something that the Democrats created, and the Democrats kind of leaned on. And if you go back and look at the etymology of it and where it came from and the history of it, it was really designed, like I said, for the majority party not to be able to push things through without having the minority party assist. So, Liv, what was the longest filibuster?
So there's 2.
Just give it to me.
One says 60 working days,
Yep.
and it was the civil rights one.
Yep, that
and then
was.
another one says the Strom-Thurmond,
Yep.
1957, was 24 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah, so the Strom-Thurmond, but that would be the second longest, and that's absolutely right. The first one was, you're right, 60 working days in all, and I thought it was 72, but that's fine, 60 working days. So that's correct. And then the second longest, Strom-Thurmond, absolutely. And then the Harry Reid is the one who reinstated and pushed forward with the filibuster, and now Democrats want it to stay because they're not in power and they're the minority, but when they're the majority, they want it to go away. This is what they do. Same thing with the Electoral College. All right, let's listen to the rest of this, then we got to go. I got to get Olivia out of here.
Senators showed up and J.D. Vance showed up, but to me, Mitch McConnell and
Get this.
vote on her as early as tonight. But if Democrats make them run all the parliamentary traps, they could stretch this out to Sunday morning or so, and then next in the queue.
So this is over. All intents and purposes, J.D. Vance isn't going to go up against the President of the United States. So this isn't Mike Pence. So let's go ahead and assume, there's no assumption, Pete Hegseth will be the Secretary of Defense. Now they need to go ahead and move forward with Pam Bondi. The next on the list would be
Kristi
Noem.
Yep.
Kristi Noem from North Dakota, the gay North Dakota.
I thought it was South Dakota.
Whatever, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm too tired. It's the weekend. I'm ready to go. I want to go party. Which is a lie, because we're not going to party at all. We're going to watch TV and do nothing. Copious amounts of sex, unprotected, and doing intravenous drug use. So, South Dakota? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, South Dakota. So, they will more than likely do that Sunday. They may push it and once again continue the filibuster, but there will be a Sunday morning vote. Kristi Noem's going to be, she will absolutely be confirmed.
What about Bondi?
Bondi will be confirmed. Bondi, absolutely. It'll be another Ratcliffe. She'll probably get a 67-33 split.
Has any of his nominations not been confirmed so far?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes. Most of them. But the vote hasn't happened.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Has the vote happened and
No.
one of them been turned down?
No.
Okay.
No. The only one, the ones that are really big right now, Tulsi Gabbard's huge. RFK is going to be a fight. And we'll see about the rest. So there's going to be fights on some things. And honestly, like Dr. Oz, I hope he doesn't get it. I hope they shoot him down.
What is he nominated for?
I don't remember. And I don't care. I hate Dr. Oz. I think he's a fucking idiot. And I don't hate him. I like Trump, but if he loses Dr. Oz, I will silently celebrate and, give a sacrifice to Cthulhu. What happened to Schiff? I don't know what that means. Or are you just stuffed up? Olivia, yes. Olivia
I have a cold.
Olivia has a cold. That's it. That's where we're at. Pete Hegseth is the new Secretary of Defense. I wasn't going to go. I had some other things we were going to do tonight, and I'm sorry Pete Hegseth took me off. We were going to go into overtime. I'm just going to see if there's anything super pressing that I can touch on, and then I'll get the hell out of here and get out of your hair. Thank you, folks. 40282. It's a wonderful evening. We certainly appreciate it. Oh, man, I had some good stuff tonight, too.
If you turn off the fan, we could stay for a few more minutes.
Okay, so let me do this. Let me do this video.
Got screwed over by.
I'm gonna show you what clickbait looks like. I get accused from time to time about clickbait. No, I don't do clickbait. This is clickbait. Listen to this jerk off. This is so made up. I'm letting you know right now. This is 100% not real. There's no way. Listen.
His orange god. Oh no. Oh no, another Trump cultist just got screwed over by his orange god king. I just came across a tweet posted by a Trump cultist, and he is just whining and freaking out and panicked because he and his wife just found out that Donald Trump screwed them over. Let me read what he wrote. All caps. Attention, please help. President Trump and Ted Cruz. My wife is a nurse and was recently hired by the VA. Our home is packed up. We have a new home. We spent thousands to move our family from Fort Worth to Waco. Following Trump's hiring freeze executive order, the VA rescinded her job offer. Oh, no. My wife is in tears and inconsolable, and my family is devastated. It has been my wife's dream to work with needy disabled veterans. I'm a disabled vet. Now our home is lost with no clear path of what to do. Her job was to start in 2 weeks. We are all huge Trump supporters, and I know this was an unintended consequence. I'm sure veterans medical care professionals were not the target of this executive order. Please help get this message to the White House so that President Trump can fix this error. Veterans need not be affected because of out-of-control government spending elsewhere. Please help retweet this so Donald Trump is made aware. We need your help. Aw, that's so sad.
What an asshole.
I'm just going to give you my 30 seconds. I think that there is no more of a deserving human being on the planet for anal warts than that fucking guy. And I hope, I mean this. I mean this with everything in my brain. Matt, you can't say that. No, I mean it. I hope your worst fear happens. And whether that's being alone or whether that's you losing something you care about, I hope your worst fear happens to you. And at one moment in your darkest hour, you are saved and salvaged by someone who isn't like you. And I hope they vote for Trump. I hope they are a Republican, Christian, conservative, white person, a veteran, and you feel the shame and get to see the absolute ugliness that is you as a human fucking being who only qualifies because you have a heartbeat, but you have no soul.
I think Richard Gere's gerbil needs a new home.
Fuck that guy.
And Yenny, I'm going to go get a dog and love the dog more than you. You're annoying.
That guy, first of all, I guarantee you that whole whatever he pasted was probably made up. But
here's the thing. If you're going to read a tweet, show it so we know it's real.
Yeah, and even then,
just the way you read it. What an asshole.
He's an asshole. And he looks like a little dipshit actor who I can't remember his name, is in a lot of different movies, and I'll try to find him. I want to end on this. Cringe is always fun. And then I need to go because I've had enough internet for the month. Enjoy this. Liv, this one's for you.
Okay, yay.
Black and indigenous people of color. Black and indigenous people of color. Lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, and queer. Lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, and queer. Asian American Pacific Islander. Asian American Pacific Islander. Latino, Hispanic, Romani, and Creole. Latino, Hispanic, Romani, and Creole. We all have a place in this world. We all have a place in this world.
I think there's some rocks and trees that need to be painted behind you, lady.
I just wanted to give her my heart. Just want a little Elon Musk. Like she was giving me her heart.
She doesn't have a bad voice, but wow.
Here's the point. You all have a place in this world. And Donald Trump is not going to change that. Because it didn't change from 16 to 20. It's not going to change from 24 to 28. It didn't get any better from 20 to 24. Presidents do not have that much of an impact on our everyday lives. That is your city and state and local government. So if you want to make change, go be on city council. Go join the student or the parents board and the education board in your city. Go be a county clerk. Go be a sheriff. Go run for mayor of your town, because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's who takes care of the water, the electric. That's what your roadways and bridges are about. That's what your taxes are. Those are the people you should take care of. But you banging your chest and singing a song to somehow suppress your white guilt, it's an effort in futility.
It would have been better if she had red Solo cups and she could have done the cup song with it.
Yeah, that would have been so much better.
So much better.
But they should have been rainbow colored cups.
That's true. True.
Not red, because that would have been Republican. The point is that, listen, who am I to say what content creators should or should not create? We've done the coexist thing. We've done the unity and equity. How about we just stay away from each other for a while? I think that's what we need.
Or
Let's
just we'll make fun of you instead.
Let's have some separation.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh. Hold on. There was one other one. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to show it. We'll show those tomorrow. Or Monday. That's what we're going to do. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. If you have not had a chance, please go by and get yourself a Constitution of the United States. Every single human being should have this in their house. A full version of the Constitution, not a small version, but 144 pages, all in size 14 font, beautifully done with biographies for all the framers. It's actually an amazing book, and it's the entire Constitution printed for you by the same people that do the Smithsonian and the Library of Congress and the ones you can get in Washington, D.C. Just not yet, because the Don't Unfriend Me show is the only show that has it right now. So thank you for all you've done. Have a good weekend. Take care of each other. We'll see you when? Liv, when are we coming back on?
Monday at 7.
Monday at 7 o'clock. We'll see you then. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for taking care of us. And we'll see you on the Don't Unfriend Me show next time. Good night.
Night, y'all.
Good night, y'all.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your
Go Pete Hegseth
hosts Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.